Chapter 962. Lu Shuaiyu was flung aside as she staggered backwards several steps. Those few female students subconsciously supported her. Lu Shuaiyu's right arm hung limply, and the moment she moved slightly, she felt a piercing pain. Her face, which had turned pale from the pain, surfaced a cold smile. Yiqing Luo, your unhappiness is about to come. Yiqing Luo's brows rose as she didn't think much of it. Oh. Really? Then touch your hand and see. Who's the one who's going to be unhappy? Lu Shuaiyu's smile froze as she stretched out her hand to touch her arm. The moment she touched it, it was a piercing pain. She bore with it as her 5 fingers clasped onto the joints of her arm. It wasn't broken. Moreover, she couldn't feel any signs of injury. As though the crack sound earlier was just an illusion. But her hand was still in pain. The pain was unbearable. What did you do to me? Lu Shuaiyu's aloof face was filled with viciousness. I didn't do anything. You and I are both women, so what can I do to you? Yiqing Luo's words, which were filled with hidden meanings, floated out casually. Those 5 female students understood the hidden meaning in her words as their faces flushed red. Lu Shuaiyu's face turned green and red as she gritted her teeth and stared at the people behind her, still not supporting me to leave. She didn't believe that her arm was completely fine. The students took a look at Lu Shuaiyu, and in the end, under Lu Shuaiyu's authority, they supported her to leave. Before they left, Lu Shuaiyu's chilly voice came out from the slits of her teeth. Yiqing Luo, you won't be so lucky forever. Looking at Lu Shuaiyu, who was like a defeated rooster as she left dejectedly, Lu Xiaoyu laughed out unkindly. Qing Luo, did you see her expression? She looked as though she was covered with a pile of sh*t. Yiqing Luo's lips twitched. From the moment she decided to place the world group in front of everyone, deciding to shine brightly, she had no intention of enduring silently. Since Lu Shuaiyu insisted on bumping into the gun, she naturally wouldn't miss this chance. After all, Lu Shuaiyu was the faculty council's vice president. The news of him injuring Lu Shuaiyu would soon spread throughout the academy. But Lu Xiaoyu smiled and suddenly thought of something. Her face darkened. If this matter is spread out and Lu Shuaiyu wants to hold you responsible, wouldn't you be breaking the rules? Yiqing Luo gave an elegant smile as she didn't mind. Before you pursue responsibility, you have to produce evidence. Lu Shuaiyu endured the pain in her arm. She didn't want to lose face as the vice president in front of the female students. There was another purpose. That was to make use of this matter to accuse Yiqing Luo of harming her classmates. How would Yiqing Luo give Lu Shuaiyu this chance? You want to pursue the matter? Bring out the evidence. Lu Xiaoyu blinked her bright eyes as if she had understood something. Lu Shuaiyu's arm will continue to hurt for 2 to 3 days, but I can't find anything wrong with it. Pfft. Lu Xiaoyu doubled over in laughter. This move was simply too despicable. However, it was really satisfying. As expected, within 1 hour, the matter of Yiqing Luo and Lu Shuaiyu's conflict had spread throughout the entire courtyard. But unfortunately, there wasn't any problem with Lu Shuaiyu's arm. Yunxiang had always stood on Lu Shuaiyu's side, and when he heard about this, he naturally checked on it secretly. But the 5 students present were all vague about it. Chapter 963. Since the student had already said so, Lu Shuaiyu was destined to swallow this loss forcefully. Just as Lu Shuaiyu was thinking of ways to take revenge on Yiqing Luo. But there was news of Yiqing Luo being invited by the young chief of the Alchemist Guild to attend the alchemist competition. This news was not publicized by the academy. The director would naturally not reject the personal invitation from the young chief of the Alchemist Guild. He only sent Yunxiang to negotiate with Yiqing Luo and confirmed that she would report to the Alchemist Guild tomorrow. Lu Shuaiyu got the news from Yunxiang. Faculty Council, deep in the secret passage. Lu Shuiyu walked briskly. The expression on her face was different from the usual frosty look. There was a hint of joy. She pushed the door open and saw the green-robed man who was bending over the table to read the documents. The warmth in her eyes grew thicker. Her lips were also tainted with a smile. She slowly walked forward and said in a soft voice, "President, I am here." Si Yenmu slowly raised his head. His gentle eyes gazed at Lu Shuiyu elegantly. After a while, his gaze fell on her obviously unnatural arm which was hanging by her side. "Arm, is it still not healed?" "No, nothing." The gentle voice made Lu Shuiyu's heart tremble. That concerned tone made her want to sink into this gentleness. Si Yenmu slowly stood up. His green and white uniform was like a wave, rolling and sliding down. It made that gentle and elegant handsome face look even more refined. He walked closer to Lu Shuiyu and held her injured arm. "It has been 2 days, still not healed." A strong masculine scent sprayed into her nose. Lu Shuiyu's icy cold face had long been dyed red. She stared at the man in front of her in a daze, staring at his gentle eyes. His touch made Lu Shuiyu's delicate body tremble slightly. Immediately, a burst of pain came from her right arm. But Lu Shuiyu seemed to feel nothing. She just stared at Si Yenmu in a daze. As if, as long as Si Yenmu was this gentle to her, even if it took her life, she would gladly endure it. "All right." Si Yenmu let go of her hand and slowly walked back to the wooden table. That scorching temperature suddenly disappeared. Lu Shuiyu opened her mouth and wanted to stop Si Yenmu. But looking at his watery smile, she couldn't take the initiative to speak. Her right arm was fixed by Si Yenmu. However, she felt a heavy sense of loss in her heart because of his approach and departure. "Tell me, what did you find out?" Si Yenmu did not seem to notice the affection in her eyes. He just lowered his head and continued to stare at the documents on the table. Lu Shuiyu regained her senses and immediately put on a stern look. "I heard from Elder Yun Xiang that Yiqing Luo will leave the academy tomorrow and head over to the Alchemist Guild." Si Yenmu did not like women who mixed public and private affairs. So, when it came to matters of duty, she would try her best to suppress her feelings towards Si Yenmu and be his most important and capable assistant. Si Yenmu raised his eyelids. "You are leaving the school tomorrow." "Yes, the alchemist competition will last for 2 days. You must arrive at the Alchemist Union 1 day in advance to obtain the competition qualification certificate." Lu Shuiyu didn't know what was the purpose of Si Yenmu asking her to find out about Yiqing Luo's whereabouts. But she would obey Si Yenmu's orders unconditionally. Chapter 964. "President, is there a problem?" Lu Shuiyu asked puzzledly when she heard Si Yenmu's low murmur. Si Yenmu chuckled softly, like the spring breeze caressing the face and blooming flowers. "No problem, just a little surprised. Classmate Yi is indeed a legendary student." Lu Shuiyu's face stiffened. Hearing Si Yenmu's praise of Yiqing Luo, it made her very uncomfortable. To be able to get the artifact, subdue the supreme dragon, and one of the 4 sacred beasts, the white tiger, and also know the art of alchemy. If she could join the faculty council, it would definitely be beneficial to the development of the faculty council. Si Yenmu's smile grew wider, as if mentioning Yiqing Luo's name made him very happy. This smile, however, made Lu Shuiyu's heart dull pain. She did not want Si Yenmu to show the slightest affection and appreciation to any woman. Si Yenmu belonged to her. He belonged to her alone. "All right, you can leave first." Si Yenmu's slender fingers gently brushed his thin lips, revealing a meaningful smile. Immediately, he dismissed Lu Shuiyu. Lu Shuiyu was stunned. The blood in her body seemed to solidify. A woman's intuition told her that Si Yenmu was interested in Yiqing Luo. No. She would not allow anyone to touch her president. Lu Shuiyu clenched her fists. but her face was expressionless as she bowed and turned to leave. When Lu Shuaiyu's figure left the room, Si Yanmu, who had a gentle smile on his face, was no longer smiling. What replaced it was an extremely strong hostility. That gentle face emerged a few traces of murderous intent. He got up and bowed respectfully to somewhere behind him. Lord Holy Technique, Yiqing Luo will set off tomorrow to the Alchemist Guild. The next day, while the students were in class, Yunxiang sent Yiqing Luo out of the Heavenly Academy. The Mu brothers were waiting at the door. When they saw Yiqing Luo coming out, they came forward. 2 horses and a carriage. These two were very considerate. Yunxiang sent Yiqing Luo out of the Heavenly Academy, completed the task and left without looking back. Are you ready? Mu Zifan looked at her. He didn't sense any alchemy equipment on her body. Yiqing Luo smiled. There's no need to specially prepare anything. Isn't an alchemist's competition particular about fairness? I believe you all wouldn't allow alchemists to bring along their own cauldrons to compete, right? Mu Zifan laughed out loud. So you know the rules. It is indeed so. The alchemists participating in the competition must use the medicinal cauldrons prepared by the Alchemy Union. That was a given. If an alchemist was allowed to have their own medicine cauldron, it would be unfair to many alchemists. Of course, the success rate of alchemy was closely related to the medicinal cauldron. Mu Zifan handed over a package in his hand. These are some pastries. If you get hungry on the road, you can eat them to fill your stomach. The minute Yiqing Luo received it, she smelled the fragrance of the pastries. She smiled. Thank you. Let's go. If we don't hurry, it won't be good if we're late. Mu Zifei urged, lifting the curtain. If there's anything, we can talk on the road. It was indeed getting late. From the Heavenly Academy to the Alchemy Union, it would take at least 12 to 14 hours of journey. Once they arrived at the Alchemy Union, they still had to collect the qualification certificate. Yiqing Luo turned her head and took a look at the magnificent, palace-like academy. In her mind, there seemed to be an image of a man dressed in a purple robe, with peerless elegance. Knowing that she was leaving the academy today, he still didn't rush back. Or was he so busy that he didn't know that she was leaving the academy today? After a long while, she slowly retracted her gaze and turned back with a slight sense of loss. Chapter 965. Yiqing Luo was slightly stunned. A low husky voice floated down from above her head. Why, waiting anxiously, who are you waiting for? The familiar sandalwood fragrance seeped into her nose. The man's warm embrace made a certain part of her heart feel as if it had been stabbed by a deep evil thing. Ah, Xian. He was really here. I'm waiting for you. Yiqing Luo replied honestly without any shyness. The arms around her waist tightened. The man's low husky voice, because of the young lady's honest words, had a gentle expression and joy in his eyes, not willing to leave me for even a moment. Yiqing Luo turned around and her petite body went into his arms. Her eyes were crystal clear without any impurities. Ever since the holidays ended and she came to Heavenly Academy, this man had left without saying goodbye. Yiqing Luo knew that his imperial palace's matters had not been settled. He rushed over to King Ling's tomb because he sensed that she was in danger. Especially now that the dark forces had invaded Nirvana realm, he needed the first imperial palace to step in. She suppressed the urge to meet Dmo Xian. Dmo Xian had his own matters to attend to. She had said it before. Dmo Xian could not possibly stay by her side. She was very clear about this point. So during this period of time, she had put all her heart into the pill refining room, following Ghost Doctor to continue learning pill refining skills. Right now, the most important thing was not romance, but to cure Xiao Yi of the poison. She had to get first place in the alchemist competition. Because of this, a total of 4 days. She had not even met Dmo Xian once. In the end, he still came. She hugged his waist, absorbing his unique aura. Yiqing Luo felt a sense of satisfaction, flowing from the bottom of her heart. You have plenty of time to be mushy on the way, now get on the carriage. Mu Zifei's teasing voice was heard from behind. Yiqing Luo suddenly opened her eyes and raised her head from Dmo Xian's arms. Seeing Dmo Xian, she had forgotten where she was and what she was going to do. Seeing Mu Zifei winking at her, Yiqing Luo's face flushed red instantly. She abruptly pushed Dmo Xian's chest, lifted the curtains and squeezed in. Outside the carriage, Mu Zifei's laughter was heard. Dmo Xian's lips curled slightly, as his eyes were filled with unconcealable gentleness. The purple robe was like a cloud, sweeping past the eyes of the Mu brothers. A mellow voice floated into the ears of the Mu brothers, "Thank you for taking care of little Luo, The Mu brothers were stunned. Regaining his senses, Dmo Xian had already entered the carriage in a flash. If an ordinary person were to express his gratitude, it might not even be worth mentioning. But, if it was placed on Dmo Xian, the overlord, the significance of that was extraordinary. Who was Dizun? The palace lord of the number 1 imperial palace, a man who was known as a legend. High and mighty, incomparably noble. Even if the Alchemist Guild's alliance chief personally invited Dmo Xian might not give face to the alliance chief. But this man did it for a woman. Thank them. This also indicated that Dmo Xian had already remembered them from the bottom of his heart. He would definitely repay them at the right time. It could be seen that Dmo Xian treated Yiqing Luo sincerely. Moreover, their love was extremely deep. The night was deep. The Mu brothers stopped their horses and prepared to rest for a while in this forest. The 2 horses were tired after running for a day. Moreover, Yiqing Luo was a woman after all. After being jolted on the carriage for such a long time, it was indeed time for her to rest. They hunted some wild game and ate some pastries. Chapter 966. Perhaps it was because she was worried about Yan Xiaoyi. Even in the carriage, nestled in Dmo Xian's arms, she didn't feel sleepy at all. She then quietly got up and exited the carriage. She replaced Mu Zifan on night watch. After pushing for a while, seeing Yiqing Luo's insistence, he said that he would wake up 2 hours later to continue night watch. Yiqing Luo waved her hand as she flipped over and leapt onto a thick and sturdy tree. Sitting against the wind, she gazed at the bright moon in the sky. In her mind, everything that had happened recently was rearranged from the beginning to the end. She was also sorting out the dark forces and the motive of that king of darkness. She was also guessing how many people around her had already been controlled by the dark forces. After thinking about it, she had no clue at all. Suddenly, Yiqing Luo's expression congealed as her ears twitched, as though she heard something. Her eyes, which were fixated on the bright moon, flashed a chilly intent. Her fingers moved and the glower flame fan entered her palm. At this moment, her figure was as light as a feather, as she leapt down from the big tree. She shot a glance at the both of them who were resting. In order not to disturb them, she could only end the battle quickly. Yiqing Luo's fingers moved and the glower flame fan opened up. A burst of profound qi broke out from her body and condensed on the glower flame fan. Facing the wind, it slashed out numerous sharp blades. A large patch of trees in front of her instantly fell. Yiqing Luo's figure swayed as she scurried to the end of the fallen tree. A bewitching red dress, under the moonlight, was like a blazing rose blooming in the dark night, emitting a suffocating, fatal charm. She had just stood still. From all directions, a bunch of assassins dressed in black and covered in black cloth appeared. 30 over people, the weapons in their hands sparkled under the moonlight. directly surrounding Yiqing Luo within. Yiqing Luo's brows rose as there wasn't a trace of panic on her face. Yo, still playing encirclement. Yiqing Luo sneered as she swept the glower flame fan. The bewitching red glow was as fast as lightning as it directly shot out a wind blade. Following that, numerous silver threads shot out from the top of the glower flame fan, directly entangling those 30 over assassins. The speed was so fast that those assassins didn't even have time to react before their necks were sliced off by a cold slender thing. Wherever Yiqing Luo went, the assassins didn't even have time to cry out before they died. Blood splattered. Yiqing Luo was like a fairy dancing under the moonlight, flirtatious and amorous. It wouldn't take long to deal with these assassins. In just a moment, the 30 assassins were all taken care of. Just as she was about to turn around, a killer suddenly sprang out from the bushes beside her, the curved blade in his hand directly chopped towards Yiqing Luo's neck. Yiqing Luo's reaction was swift as she bent her waist backwards and somersaulted sideways, trying to avoid the killer before settling him. Unexpectedly, when the killer saw her bending down to avoid the attack, he suddenly turned his hand and cut his own neck. This action made Yiqing Luo extremely stunned. The hot blood of the assassin splashed onto the ground. No matter how fast Yiqing Luo's reaction was to swiftly evade, she was still splashed with blood. The pungent smell of blood was extremely strong. Yiqing Luo swiftly retreated a few steps to avoid the killer's corpse falling down. He raised his hand and wiped the blood off his face. His pupils constricted. The thick smell of blood seemed to make one go berserk. Bright red blood stained her eyes. There seemed to be something spreading in her heart. It was a very subtle feeling and Yiqing Luo didn't catch it. Chapter 967. The sight of blood incessantly stimulated her heart. The thick stench of blood also pervaded Yiqing Luo. She pressed one hand to her heart and the other to her head, moaning in pain. Little Luo, Dmo Xian was jolted awake, the softness in his arms was long gone. Hearing the commotion outside, Dmo Xian quickly got up and followed the sound. He saw Yiqing Luo standing in the middle of the pool of blood. Assassins! Dmo Xian's brows creased tightly as he looked at the young lady who was standing in the middle, not knowing if she was deep in thought or doing something, as he stood there in a daze. He shouted a few times, but there was no response from her. Dmo Xian's heart skipped a beat as he flew forward, his arm habitually circling around her slender waist. Little Luo, what's wrong? What happened? As soon as he finished speaking, the girl in his arms actually raised the glowing flame fan and stabbed it towards his heart. Dmo Xian sensed something amiss and swiftly retreated. Yiqing Luo stabbed empty air and slowly withdrew her hand. Little Luo, Dmo Xian's expression sunk slightly as he stared at Yiqing Luo worriedly. Her beautiful face was filled with a cold light. Her pink lips were slightly pursed, revealing a gloomy and terrifying sneer, as though she was ridiculing Dmo Xian. This face was indeed Yiqing Luo's face. This body was indeed Yiqing Luo's body. Even the way she played with the glower flame fan and squinted her eyes was no different from Yiqing Luo. However, the look in her eyes made one's heart tremble. What was going on? Why did Yiqing Luo suddenly become like this? Not allowing Dmo Xian to ponder further, Yiqing Luo's hand, which was fiddling with the glower flame fan, had already speedily opened up the feather fan, directly attacking towards his direction. The wind blade, which was glowing with red profound light, struck towards Dmo Xian. The majestic and powerful profound qi did not have the slightest bit of mercy. Dmo Xian swiftly retreated half a step and saw that the ground where he was standing earlier had several deep fissures. The ground cracked and the mountains shook. His expression was cold and his brows were tightly knitted. Lil Luo was really merciless towards him. Her charming eyes were filled with a strong killing intent. The familiar face was filled with madness and bloodlust. Lil Luo, Dmo Xian called out Yi Qing Luo's name sharply. However, her next beam of mysterious light had already attacked. Kill you, a low murmur came out from Yi Qing Luo's mouth. Her eyes were empty, but they were filled with a strong gloomy coldness. She leaped up into the air and slashed out with profound energy that blotted out the sky and covered the earth. The piercing aura was swift and fierce, and it swept over from all directions. Dmo Xian had no choice but to form a barrier to defend himself. He could not attack Lil Luo Air, and could only dodge Lil Air's attacks. The current Lil Luo was obviously being controlled by something. It was exactly the same as a few days ago when Long Yunzhan was being controlled by the profound Yin energy. Could it be, was it the work of the dark forces again? When did the dark forces make their move? How did he do it? All these could only be known after Yi Qing Luo was awakened. Dmo Xian's brows creased tightly as he dodged and evaded, not forgetting to call out Yi Qing Luo's name. Bang! A loud sound reverberated as Yi Qing Luo's leaping body spun and attacked downwards. This time round, Dmo Xian didn't dodge. He speedily locked Yi Qing Luo's arms as he stretched out his hand to encircle her waist. Lil Luo, calm down a little. He unleashed a powerful profound qi. No matter how Yi Qing Luo struggled, she was unable to break free from Dmo Xian's restraint. Towards Dmo Xian's call, Yi Qing Luo seemed as though she couldn't hear it at all. Her scarlet eyes were filled with murderous intent. Chapter 968. Dmo Xian's eyes darkened as he released her arm and swiftly retreated. He wasn't afraid that Yi Qing Luo would hurt him. But he wasn't willing to see Yi Qing Luo using the method of hurting herself to hurt him. Yi Qing Luo grinned and smiled without any warmth. His nimble figure followed closely behind. The devouring flame fan at his fingertips stirred up a gust of wind. Her attack came straight at him once again. As Dmo Xian was dodging, he turned his head and saw the Mu brothers who were still in deep sleep. He became more and more vigilant. He and Yi Qing Luo had created such a huge commotion, but the both of them were still in deep sleep. Looked like the matter of Yi Qing Luo falling into the control was premeditated. She seemed to have noticed his gaze. Yi Qing Luo's gaze followed closely and looked over. The corners of her lips curled into a strange arc as Yi Qing Luo leapt into the air and stretched her body. The red-clothed girl stood in front of the Mu brothers in the blink of an eye. Dmo Xian's brows were icy cold as he berated in a low voice, Lil Luo, You want to kill the Mu brothers? Stop. At this moment, Dmo Xian was completely certain. The matter of Yi Qing Luo being possessed absolutely had something to do with the dark forces. Wasn't playing with people's emotions the most common trick of the dark forces? Just like the previous Long Yunzhan, controlling Long Yunzhan to assassinate Yi Qing Luo. If Yi Qing Luo died, when Long Yunzhan regained consciousness, he would definitely commit suicide to accompany her. Whereas if Yi Qing Luo killed Long Yunzhan in order to survive, that was to kill his own brother with his own hands. But now, she controlled Yi Qing Luo to kill him and the Mu brothers. If Yi Qing Luo really hurt the Mu brothers, when she woke up, she would definitely be filled with guilt. In this life, he would never be able to walk out of this guilt. These methods were all meant to toy with one's heart and emotions in the palm of one's hand. Dmo Xian could not allow Yi Qing Luo to do something that she would regret for the rest of her life. His figure was as swift as lightning as he sped towards Yi Qing Luo's direction in an attempt to stop her. Yi Qing Luo had already slid out the glower flame fan. The dagger on the fan handle, under the moonlight, emitted a cold luster. Raising the dagger high, he expressionlessly plunged it down towards Mu Zifei. A soft sound rang out. Yiqing Luo's raised dagger froze on the spot. His whole body suddenly stiffened. Dmo Xian's eyes lit up with delight as he stretched out his hand to hold her arm, which was holding onto the glower flame fan. Lil Luo, you. But when his vision met with Yiqing Luo's emotionless eyes, his joyful words were deflated back. She was still obsessed with lust. That kid from the Imperial Palace. Why are you still in a daze? Quickly let little Luo sleep. She'll be fine when she wakes up. Suddenly, an unfamiliar voice spoke in a commanding tone. The sudden voice made Dmo Xian raise his eyebrows in vigilance as a strong imposing manner spread out from his body. You don't need to care about my identity. Make Luo girl fall asleep immediately. My strength is limited and I can't suppress the profound yin qi in her body. The voice urged him again. She could hear the anxiety in his tone, and also heard the intimate way he called out to Yiqing Luo. Dmo Xian looked at Yiqing Luo, who was trembling all over, as though she was trying to struggle free from something. Gritting his teeth, he still raised his hand and hit the sleeping acupoint on Yiqing Luo's body. Yiqing Luo's body softened as she fell into his arms. Gazing at the young lady whose eyes were tightly shut, Dmo Xian's eyes deepened. He carried her up and walked directly into the carriage. Chapter 969. There was no response for a long time. Dmo Xian's deep black eyes flashed, his eyes were filled with ice, and his perception was raised to the maximum. The old voice sighed faintly and said, "Kid from the Imperial Palace, can't you just let this old man keep a secret?" Dmo Xian's pupils congealed as he noticed the direction of the sound. It was coming from Yiqing Luo. His brows furrowed. You are Lil Luo, you can say that I am your master. Old man Song knew very well that there was no way to hide it from Dmo Xian and could only tell the truth. But that lass often calls me Old man Song. Dmo Xian was sharp and his gaze was like a torch, fixed on Yiqing Luo's wrist. He held Yiqing Luo's wrist as he lifted up his wide sleeves. Sure enough, he saw that the bracelet on her wrist was faintly flashing with red light. You are the artifact spirit of the Azure Dew bracelet. Dmo Xian gently placed Yiqing Luo's wrist into the thin blanket. The doubts in his heart had been answered. Old Song was slightly startled. You know about the Azure Dew bracelet? This exalted one naturally understands. Dmo Xian replied apathetically, this lord is also aware of the situation of Lil Luo's body, and also knows that profound jade heart in her body, Dmo Xian. Old man Song's voice suddenly became serious, interrupting his words. He also immediately changed the way he addressed him. Old man Song's voice was very heavy. You already knew everything. Why didn't you mention it to little girl Luo? His tone was interrogative. He was questioning Dmo Xian from Yiqing Luo's point of view. Yiqing Luo's identity, as well as the profound jade heart in her body, it was all a secret. A secret that could not be made public. Dmo Xian knew everything about her, then, why did you get close to the Luo girl? Old man Song's voice was filled with anger. In old man Song's heart, he had treated Yiqing Luo as his own disciple, his own granddaughter. He had been observing Yiqing Luo and Dmo Xian's relationship along the way. He assumed that Dmo Xian treated Yiqing Luo sincerely. Because of this, he didn't intentionally conceal his identity today. But if Dmo Xian had an ulterior motive for getting close to Yiqing Luo, then there was no difference between him and that king of darkness who tried to make a move on Yiqing Luo. No. He should be even more terrifying than the king of darkness. If everything that Dmo Xian had done was because he had a motive, that was deceiving Yiqing Luo's feelings. She could hear the heaviness in old man Song's tone, as well as his concern for Yiqing Luo, as though he was an elder. Dmo Xian's enmity towards him had gradually subsided. He leaned against the cushion behind him, bent his knees, and rested one hand on his knee in a lazy posture. Yes, I admit, from the beginning, when I was interested in Lil Luo, it was indeed her body that was different from normal people that attracted me. He was calm, and his tone was serious. His deep and quiet eyes were bright, without a trace of falsehood. So, you and Luo you are together only because she's different from normal people. Old man Sang's tone clearly revealed some anger. Dmo Xian had yet to reply. His chest was grasped by a small hand. The girl nestled in the thin quilt gazed at his face with her hazy eyes. Her fair little hand was tightly gripping his clothes. Although she had just woken up from her dreams, but her consciousness was still clear. You have an ulterior motive for being together with me. Dmo Xian frowned, and kept silent for a moment, but gave an irrelevant answer. Is it that old man who released your sleep acupoint? Chapter 970. Her hazy and sleepy eyes, at this moment, became clear and bright. Dmo Xian drooped his eyes, curled his rosy lips coldly. His eyes seemed to be swirling with whirlpools, unable to see the deep meaning in it. What do you think? That little hand that was tugging at his clothes, slowly slid down. The young lady's eyelashes drooped, each and every one of her thick and curly eyelashes trembled slightly. He couldn't read her emotions. She seemed to be depressed, but also seemed emotionless. Dmo Xian narrowed his eyes. This woman's trust in him, was this little? Seeing that she didn't speak for a long time, Dmo Xian's brows revealed a trace of helplessness. In the end, he decided not to tease her anymore. Just as he was about to open his mouth to explain, the young lady's little head suddenly raised up. The black and white distinct eyes stared deeply at his peerless face, her eyes revealed a trace of determination. The petite body directly crashed into Dmo Xian's arms. Soft arms, tightly wrapped around his neck. Ah Xian, it's not that I don't trust you, nor do I blame you. She murmured in his ear. When she just woke up from her coma, the first sentence she heard was old man Sang questioning Dmo Xian. And Dmo Xian's answer made her brain not too clear for a moment. Yiqing Luo leaned her head into Dmo Xian's arms, deeply inhaling his familiar sandalwood scent. From the beginning, if I hadn't aroused your interest, you wouldn't have saved me. From the beginning, if I didn't have what you wanted, you wouldn't have appeared in front of me again and again, circling around me. From the beginning, none of us knew that we would fall in love with each other. Yiqing Luo murmured softly. Her voice was filled with tenderness and honey, totally different from the usual arrogance. Dmo Xian opened his mouth to explain, but swallowed it back. Yiqing Luo propped herself up, looked up at him. From the beginning, didn't I use the knife to threaten you? I am willing to get in touch with you. Isn't it also to borrow your strength, to make use of your ability? The more she said, the calmer Yiqing Luo was. The smile on her lips gradually deepened. From the beginning, none of us knew what would happen next. What's more, it's because I want to make use of you, because you're interested in me, isn't it? A soft sigh came from above. Dmo Xian pinched her lower jaw and his shimmering peach blossom eyes gazed deeply at her. Lil Luo, you've already said everything, what do you want me to say? Then listen to me obediently, that'll do. Yiqing Luo raised her brows, not to be outdone, stretched out her hand and tugged his collar. The man's body instantly fell over. Yiqing Luo took the initiative to kiss his lips. When their lips met, Yiqing Luo's hand went on to wrap around his neck. Finally, she whispered, Ah Xian, I love you. Love. Dmo Xian's action of biting her lips paused as his body froze. His mind was filled with the 3 words which Yiqing Luo had said earlier. She said she loved him. This Was the first time Yiqing Luo had expressed her feelings so boldly. Dmo Xian's eyes were filled with ecstasy and filled with gentleness. Yiqing Luo was still waiting for his reply. The next moment, her body was pushed onto the carriage, and the man's burning hot body covered hers. Dmo Xian's broad palm caressed Yiqing Luo's beautiful female body, as a fierce kiss landed on her brows, face. Finally, he fiercely clamped her lips. His breathing became hotter. Chapter 971. Cough, cough, cough. Cough, cough, cough. A hurried and awkward cough suddenly rang out. Yiqing Luo, who was pushing Dmo Xian's chest, stiffened. Dmo Xian, who was lying on top of her body and continuously moving his hands up and down, paused. Following that, Yiqing Luo used all her strength and pushed Dmo Xian off her body. Yiqing Luo had not expected that her one sentence of confession would actually cause Dmo Xian to suddenly burst out in rage. She almost couldn't handle it. Smelly old man. Dmo Xian's face was ashen as he gritted his teeth and spat out these 3 words. No man would be able to tolerate being disturbed at such a time. He even had the thought of destroying Old Man Song. Old Man Song coughed even more violently. This time, it was real. He was frightened. Ever since he had specially unlocked Yiqing Luo's sleeping acupoint, allowing her to witness Dmo Xian's real face, he had shut off his sight and hearing, leaving the space for the couple. However, after waiting for a long time, the two of them did not seem to have any intention of calling out to him. Old Man Song's heart was filled with anxiety. He stealthily turned on his audio and video to see what was going on. Who knew? He was young and full of vigor. He was still in the carriage, and there were 2 people sleeping outside. The 2 of them had deep feelings for each other. He should be thankful that he had activated his hearing and hearing early enough to stop it. You 2 are so lovey-dovey. You can be as mushy as you want. But looking at the current situation, Dmo Xian, don't tell me you don't want to find out what's going on with Las Luo. If it wasn't for the fact that Yiqing Luo's body had mysteriously appeared profound in qi, which was simply too unexpected, Old Man Song wouldn't have disturbed them at this timing. This concerned Yiqing Luo's health. Old Man Song couldn't wait any longer. Mentioning this point, Dmo Xian's sunken face gradually turned grave as his eyes sunk. Right, what exactly is going on? Lass. Old Man Song asked Yiqing Luo, when did you come into contact with the dark forces? Why did I sense the mysterious yin qi in your body just now? Yiqing Luo blinked her eyes in confusion. Me? Mysterious yin qi. You don't remember? Dmo Xian held Yiqing Luo's little hand. Yiqing Luo was at a loss. He did not understand the meaning behind Old Man Song and Dmo Xian's words. Could it be that she had forgotten something? Dmo Xian did not intend to hide it from her. This matter must be made known to Yiqing Luo. Only by letting Yiqing Luo be clear of her current physical condition, would she be able to find out how the profound yin qi seeped into her body. After listening to Dmo Xian's description of what happened earlier, Yiqing Luo's eyes widened in astonishment. She was actually controlled by the profound yin qi just like Long Yunzhan. But she had not come into contact with the mysterious yin qi. Furthermore, she had a very strong sense towards the mysterious yin qi. Otherwise he wouldn't be so unafraid of Yiqing Qian's moving and attacking profound yin qi. She didn't feel that her body was contaminated with the aura of the mysterious yin qi. Seeing Yiqing Luo's eyes filled with shock and disbelief, Dmo Xian's brows creased tightly. The people from the dark forces are really endless, they can use any methods. Old Man Song said, there's one more thing that's very strange. Right now, little girl Luo doesn't have the slightest bit of mysterious yin qi in her body. It's as if it was purposely erased. Purposely erasing it. Yiqing Luo's eyes narrowed slightly as she was filled with puzzlement. When on earth did the mysterious Yin Qi invade her body? And she was still unable to detect the presence of the mysterious Yin Qi. When Long Yunjian was awakened by her blood, his body still had that extremely dense mysterious Yin Qi. Chapter 972. Then will I still have a lust control? Yiqing Luo pursed her lips tightly. Old man Tsang remained silent for a moment and said, Dmo Xian, that fellow should have sensed it. Dmo Xian frowned, his peach blossom eyes were filled with a chilling glint. He narrowed his eyes and restrained the chill in his eyes. When he opened his mouth to explain to Yiqing Luo, his tone was gentle. You don't forcibly release your profound qi, especially don't release profound qi higher than earth profound 4th grade. Stabilize at this boundary and you will be fine. Yiqing Luo was stunned. Last night when the killer attacked, she indeed released earth profound 4th grade profound qi. Her original intention was to test the power of this profound grade. Then, it seemed that a killer deliberately committed suicide in front of her. He wanted to use his blood to stimulate the profound Yin Qi in her body. And my emotional instability, was it because of the profound Yin Qi in my body? Yiqing Luo suddenly thought of something. Dmo Xian nodded solemnly, that's possible. Yiqing Luo's heart was in a state of utter disbelief. She had finally found the profound jade heart, obtained the divine weapon and advanced to the profound grade. But she didn't expect that she was unable to consume the power of the earth profound grade. The more power she consumed, the more her emotions would be controlled by the profound Yin Qi. Wouldn't this make her become a max-level big boss, but had to become a 10th level small boss, to be abused by others? Heavens! Wasn't God playing with her a little too much? Then, will I lose consciousness and attack Xian and my companions again? After the battle with Long Yunjian, Yiqing Luo understood this feeling very well. Unable to attack the other party. But she couldn't bear for the other party to hurt her. I will be by your side, I will find out the reason. Dmo Xian took her into his arms and pressed her head against his chest. His peach blossom eyes narrowed slightly, a biting cold murderous intent flashed past. Lil Luo, wait for me, I will think of a way. The heartbeat from her chest and the man's warm embrace made Yiqing Luo's heart gradually settle down. She raised her lips and smiled. Okay, I'll wait for you. Old man Tsang saw that both of them were in a good mood and the matter had already been clarified, so he didn't disturb them any further. He shut off his hearing and went to investigate why Yiqing Luo was contaminated with the profound Yin Qi. Yiqing Luo shut her eyes as she deeply absorbed his aura, his taste, his everything. As long as he could remember him completely. Next time, if he really controlled his mind again, thinking of Dmo Xian, would she sober up? The Alchemy Union was located not far from one of the 4 continents. When Yiqing Luo and the rest arrived, it was noon on the 2nd day. Walking out of the carriage, Yiqing Luo discovered that the Alchemist Guild could be described as a city. It was a city for alchemists to live in. The passers-by were all alchemists dressed in green alchemy robes. Every alchemist wearing a green alchemist robe would have a badge that represented their rank pasted on their chest. This badge was issued by the Alchemy Union to prove one's alchemy level and ability. On both sides of the streets in the city, there were no other miscellaneous items. It was all medicinal herbs or various grades of pills. Even the air was filled with a thick fragrance of medicinal herbs. After Mu Zifan arrived at the city, he was summoned by the guards at the entrance. Chapter 973. Mu Zifan left first. Mu Zifei led the 2 of them to the inn first. They had already booked a room at the inn, but they didn't know that Dmo Xian would accompany them. Right now it was the alchemist competition and the entire alchemy city was full. Then, why don't we go to the Mu family's courtyard, there? Before he finished speaking, Yiqing Luo blinked her eyes. I'll share a room with Ah Xian, it's all right. During the period when the academy had just started its term, Dmo Xian would come knocking on her door every night and conveniently occupy her bed. They were already used to sharing the same bed. Since Yiqing Luo didn't mind, Mu Zifei naturally couldn't say anything. After leaving the things in the inn room, Mu Zifei brought Yiqing Luo to the Alchemy Guild to register and obtain the qualification certificate for the competition. After a day's journey, tomorrow is the competition. You must rest well tonight and recuperate your profound heart jade to its best state to face the various competitions tomorrow. After Mu Zifei finished speaking, he left to give Yiqing Luo enough time to rest. Yiqing Luo didn't sleep well last night and was indeed tired. The venue for the alchemist competition was set at the largest alchemy plaza in Alchemy City. At this time, the plaza was surrounded by many onlookers. When Yiqing Luo woke up early in the morning, Dmo Xian was no longer by her side. She could only follow Mu Zifei to the plaza to register. However, he was stunned by the sight of the sea of people. Immediately, she frowned slightly. The biggest taboo in alchemy was to be disturbed. With so many commoners present, the participating alchemists wouldn't be able to refine pills in peace. When refining pills, there will be an enchantment around to prevent other commoners or alchemists from obstructing the alchemist's temperament. Mu Zifei explained. Yiqing Luo nodded, this was more like it. In the middle of the plaza stood a high platform. There were 6 white-bearded old men sitting on the high platform. They all had the demeanor of immortals. Mu Zifei sat in the middle of the old men and spoke a few words to them from time to time. Obviously, they were the judges for this competition. Seeing Mu Zifei come, the other 6 old men naturally recognized him and called him over. Mu Zifei urged Yiqing Luo, go in and register first, find your position and wait for the first competition. Yiqing Luo followed the number on the certificate and found her position. She was in a corner of the square, and on her stone table were some medicine refining equipment, all of which had been destroyed. She was in an extremely sorry state. Yiqing Luo frowned slightly. How could the Alchemy Union make such a careless mistake? Just as she was about to request Mu Zifei to change a set of equipment, Yiqing Luo acutely heard the whispers of several participating alchemists beside her. She glanced over from the corner of her eyes. Sure enough, she discovered that a few alchemists were huddled together and looking in her direction, their eyes full of ridicule. In other words, her position was not the fault of the Alchemist Guild. Could it be that the other alchemists were doing it on purpose? It seemed like it was her first time coming to Alchemy City. Why did these alchemists start to target her? Yiqing Luo's expression sunk slightly as she raised her eyes and stared fixedly at those alchemists who were still sniggering. Those few alchemists seemed as though they had not expected Yiqing Luo to have no fear at all, directly telling that it was done by them as they were all stunned. But they had nothing to fear. Instead, he raised his eyebrows provocatively at Yiqing Luo, as though he was ridiculing her. Yiqing Luo's eyes sunk even more. She had never been someone who was easy to provoke. Being directly stepped on in the face by others, she also did not have the habit of swallowing insults. Chapter 974. Mississippi, a clear voice suddenly came from behind. Let's change seats, I'll give my seat to you. Yiqing Luo's footsteps paused as she turned around. She saw a young man dressed in a green alchemist robe looking at her with a face full of smiles. The young man looked slightly immature, about 16 or 17 years old, his face stained with dirt and dirt. But even so, Yiqing Luo could see the young man's delicate features and handsome eyebrows. That pair of clear bright eyes, she could tell that he was a rather silly and easy to bully. Sure enough, that young man had already walked forward and dragged Yi Qing Luo towards his seat. It was just beside Yi Qing Luo's seat. They destroyed your seat because they don't want you to participate in the competition. The young man muttered, "Don't look for them, they definitely won't admit it. If this goes to the chief, you'll be in trouble." Yi Qing Luo allowed him to pull her and sat down on his wooden chair. She raised her brows. "I have no enmity with them, why don't they want me to participate?" Because they said that you seduced the young chief and his brother and sold your body in order to win the championship. The young man stuttered as if he was very embarrassed. Yi Qing Luo suddenly understood. She finally understood the reason why these alchemists targeted her. Just because she and Mu Zifei were close. They have the advantage in numbers. Even if you get the chief to speak up, you'll be the one to suffer in the end. The young man scratched his messy hair as he stared at Yi Qing Luo, his cheeks flushed. "You're so beautiful, I don't want you to be bullied." Indeed a fool. If it was in normal times, Yi Qing Luo would be too lazy to bother with such a person. But she felt that this young man was so silly that he was a little cute. He said a lot of things but Yi Qing Luo didn't make a sound. The young man seemed to feel that he was too talkative as he scratched his head in embarrassment and walked over to Yi Qing Luo's stone table. "So, sorry for disturbing you. What's your name?" Yi Qing Luo suddenly called out to him. The young man blinked his clear eyes and revealed a smile. "My name is Bei Ming Che." Bei Ming Che. Bei Ming family again. Look, that vixen can't stay idle again and seduced other men. Isn't that North Sea trash? What's the use of seducing a good-for-nothing? Perhaps, his tone is unique. The few alchemists huddled together, gossiping, and then burst into laughter. His tone was filled with disdain. Yi Qing Luo's brows creased even tighter as she shot a glance at those talkative alchemists with an unhappy expression. Sorry." Bai Ming-che apologized again, lowered his head and said, "Because of me, they also scolded you. These people only know how to talk about right and wrong. It's useless to have them." Yi Qing Luo indifferently glanced at him. Whether you are a waste or not, it's not up to them to decide, but you yourself, whether you are one or not." Bai Ming-che was stunned, not expecting Yi Qing Luo to say such words. Yi Qing Luo didn't bother about him as she got up directly and walked towards her own seat. "If this is broken, there's no way to compete, it's better if I shut up." Yi Qing Luo said indifferently, "Go back." Bai Ming-che moved his mouth, but on seeing her cold expression, he could only hang his head dejectedly and return to his seat. So what if the stone table was broken? Later on during the competition, she would just need another set of alchemy equipment. During the competition, she would not pursue this matter for now. Chapter 975. Yi Qing Luo kept a low profile with the Alchemist Guild, as she exchanged a new set of alchemy equipment. As for the damaged stone table, to Yi Qing Luo, it didn't matter at all. The person in charge of the alchemist competition, Elder Wu Tao, only politely requested to change the equipment for the competition when he saw this young lady who had a close relationship with the young alliance master and his brother. As for other matters, he did not mention a single word. Wu Tao had a good impression of her. Those open strife and veiled strife between alchemists, they had seen too much. Especially for someone like Yi Qing Luo, who was an enviable existence. Naturally, he would be pushed aside by the other alchemists. Naturally, he would not interfere in this matter if he could. Yi Qing Luo brought along the refining tools and returned to her own position. The pharmacist sneered at him again. Yi Qing Luo squinted her eyes as her lips curled into a chilly arc. Go ahead, go ahead." After a while, there would be no chance for him to speak. Clang clang clang, the bell signaling the start of the competition had already rung. All the alchemists quickly returned to their positions. On the high platform, Mu Zifan gave a speech according to the competition procedure. Then, he got someone to bring the prizes of the champion to the high platform and place them there to motivate the various alchemists. Yiqing Luo knew that this was a segment that Mu Zifan had specially arranged in order to confirm whether the Light Spirit Immortal Herb was among the prizes. When she saw the Light Spirit Immortal Grass being placed on the table, Yiqing Luo's eyes lit up slightly. There were indeed spiritual immortal herbs. When the prizes were placed on the table one by one, the alchemists let out exclamations of joy. They stared at the prizes in a daze, wishing they could take them all home. Bai Mingche looked at the girl beside him in confusion. The expression on her face was too calm. It was as if these rewards were insignificant to her. Thinking of her indifference towards him just now, Bai Mingche rubbed his nose and withdrew his gaze. Clang clang clang. After Mu Zifan finished speaking, the second bell rang. This was the bell that signified the beginning of the competition. Standing on the high platform, Elder Wu Yao began to explain the rules. The competition was divided into 3 rounds. Today, the first written test and the second pill refining competition would be held. Tomorrow was the 3rd round of the competition. The overall results of the 3 matches will be added together. The results of the competition would be announced in the afternoon. Clang clang clang, the 3rd city's bell rang, signaling the start of the competition. The first round of the competition tested an alchemist's answers to questions related to medicinal ingredients, alchemy techniques, and various alchemy-related questions. To Yiqing Luo, who possessed the 100-pill refining pill and had read extensively at Ghost Doctor's place, this was totally not a problem. Carefree, and relaxed. Yiqing Luo had already finished answering the test paper before half of the time had passed. When she put down the brush and ink, the surrounding commoners all looked at Yiqing Luo in disbelief. Those few alchemists looked at Yiqing Luo suspiciously. He thought that she couldn't answer the questions on the test paper and gave up. The second round of the competition was a pill refining competition. Whoever refined a pill of better quality and better effect would be able to get a higher score. The duration of the competition was 1.5 hours. In the first hour, he could go to the medicinal herb storehouse below the high platform at any time to take the medicinal herbs he needed. For the next 2 hours, no alchemist was allowed to leave the position where they were refining the pills. After the competition began, a large group of alchemists swarmed into the medicinal ingredient warehouse. Yiqing Luo wasn't anxious. On the side, Bai Mingche was not impatient either. Chapter 976. After an incense worth of time, more than half of the alchemists were out. Yiqing Luo then started to take action. Bai Mingche saw this and followed into the medicinal herb storehouse. The medicinal herb storehouse was in a mess. Because of the frenzied snatching, various medicinal herbs were mixed together. The high-quality medicinal herbs were all taken away by those alchemists. Yiqing Luo took the medicine basket and walked 1 round around the medicinal herb storehouse. Half squinting her eyes, she went through the names of these medicinal herbs in her mind. Bai Mingche originally wanted to follow Yiqing Luo and see what medicinal herbs she took, he would follow suit. From the written examination, Bai Mingche felt that this beautiful lady was absolutely an incredible alchemist. At least, she was a Grandmaster level alchemist. However, Yiqing Luo stood in the middle of the medicinal herb storehouse and didn't move. On seeing that there wasn't enough time, Bai Mingche could only give up his original plan and went to take the medicinal herbs first. Just at this moment, Yiqing Luo's eyes suddenly opened. Her slender palm flipped and a burst of strong profound qi broke out from her body. The surrounding medicinal herbs followed the profound qi and rolled around. One by one, the medicinal herbs revolved around the profound qi and headed towards Yiqing Luo's medicine basket. But in a moment, Yiqing Luo's medicine basket was filled with medicinal herbs. She turned around and left the medicinal herb storehouse directly. The remaining large bunch of alchemists were all dumbstruck. Who would choose medicinal herbs in such a way? No one saw clearly what medicinal herbs Yiqing Luo had chosen. When she returned to the competition grounds, Yiqing Luo discovered that near all the stone tables, there were 2 white sails raised. The stone table at the alchemist's seat was separated from the other stone tables. Yiqing Luo understood. There were many alchemists, but every alchemist's pill refining techniques and knowledge towards medicinal herbs were all different. Every alchemist had their own set of secret pill refining methods. These skills must not be secretly learned by other alchemists. These 2 white sails were to protect the secrets between the alchemists. Yiqing Luo placed the medicine basket by the side and started to refine pills. Ghost Doctor said before that the most important thing in refining pills was to be calm and composed, without any distracting thoughts, using the purest heart fire to refine the purest pills. Hence, she threw away all distracting thoughts. Winning the championship, obtaining the light spirit immortal grass, curing Yen Shao Yi etc., all these thoughts were thrown to the back of her mind. The only thought in his mind was to refine the pill that he planned to refine. A high-grade level 5 medicinal pill. High-grade level 5 pills could only be refined by alchemists above the rank of Grand Apothecary. Moreover, a Grand Master Apothecary would have a very low success rate. Not to mention high-grade medicinal pills. It was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Although Yiqing Luo had learnt alchemy skills from Ghost Doctor. But now, she had only just stepped into the apothecary level. On the surface, the only thing missing was the word great. However, the difference in strength between them was like the difference between heaven and earth. He chose to take the risk to refine a high-grade level 5 pill mainly because she filtered all the remaining medicinal herbs in the medicinal herb storehouse. This was the only pill that could get a high score. The rest of the herbs could only be used to refine some upper-grade level 2 or 3 elixirs, or lower-grade level 4 elixirs. What Yiqing Luo wanted was a sure-win method. In that case, the fastest way would be to refine high-grade level 5 pills. Yiqing Luo kept away all her thoughts as she took down that set of alchemy equipment and squatted directly under the stone table, sitting on the ground. Chapter 977. The participating alchemists were unable to see the refining techniques of the other alchemists. But those few judges standing on the high platform were able to see all the actions of the other alchemists. As the young chief, Mu Zifan concealed himself very well and only occasionally looked in Yiqing Luo's direction. But Mu Zifei's eyes were fixed on Yiqing Luo's direction, not even blinking once. From the time they knew Yiqing Luo, they had never seen Yiqing Luo refine pills. They only knew that the pills that Yiqing Luo refined were completely different from the other alchemists. Just what kind of secret was hidden within? As alchemists, they were naturally very interested in this point. But after watching for a long time, they only saw Yiqing Luo leisurely washing the utensils and took out stalks of herbs from the herb basket. While wiping the dust off, she carefully placed them into the utensils. No matter how they looked, it felt, she didn't look like a professional alchemist. There were only 2 hours left to concoct the elixir, and she was still leisurely washing these medicinal herbs. Another half an hour passed and Yiqing Luo finally stopped this action. She reached into the utensils and condensed profound qi at her fingertips, crushing all the herbs that she had just washed clean. Then she placed it on the stove at the side. Her palms moved and released the heart flame. The small flame began to refine these herbs. Yiqing Luo immediately began the next wave of washing, crushing, delivering and increasing the power of the heart flame. Back and forth, on the third time, there was only 1 hour left to refine the pills. Mu Zifei was already sweating profusely. "Brother, what do you think Yiqing Luo wants to do?" Mu Zifan was calm and composed. His gentle face revealed a meaningful smile. "Look at the medicinal herbs she has chosen." Herbs. When Mu Zifei heard this, he immediately looked at Yiqing Luo's herb basket and the many discarded roots that had been torn off. He could roughly identify what herbs they were. Just now he had put all his attention on Yiqing Luo's refining techniques. He didn't pay attention to what herbs Yiqing Luo took. He was slightly startled by what he saw. She can't be spirit ginseng. 1,000-leaf record. 9-tune leaf. These herbs, added up one by one to refine, that's right. Mu Zifei's pitch-black eyes stared deeply at Yiqing Luo as he slightly nodded. She wants to refine a 5th-grade medicinal pill, Ice Soul Spirit Ginseng Pill. A 5th-grade medicinal pill. Or Ice Soul Spirit Ginseng Pill. In the entire alchemy union, even a Grandmaster alchemist wouldn't be able to confidently say that he or she could refine the pill. Yiqing Luo. She actually dared to refine this kind of medicinal pill in the competition. Was she too confident in herself, or did she want to stake everything on one throw? Refining the Ice Soul Spirit Ginseng Pill requires at least a day and a night's time. These 2 hours, she already wasted a full hour. How could she possibly succeed? Mu Zifei clenched his fists tightly as a worried expression surfaced on his face. If it's her, it's possible. Mu Zifei didn't know why, but he believed in Yiqing Luo's ability. In his heart, Yiqing Luo would never do anything that she had no confidence in. In order to save Yan Xiaoyi, she would definitely not lose this competition. Seeing that Yiqing Luo had chosen to refine the Ice Soul Spirit Ginseng Pill, it definitely represented that she had this confidence. As for the time spent on refining, and the fact that she had spent so much time on it. Chapter 978. Clang clang clang, the bell rang, accompanied by the elder's voice, which spread throughout the entire square. There is still 1 incense stick of time before the end of the competition. Hearing this time, the actions of those alchemists became more and more urgent. The released heart fire also became more and more vigorous. Some alchemists had already finished refining the pills, sweating as they sat in their positions, waiting for the last incense stick of time. Yiqing Luo was currently using small fire to refine the tools. Wave after wave of heart fire constantly surged. Her forehead had already seeped sweat. It was impossible to say that she was not flustered. The Ice Spirit Ginseng Pill was originally not an easy pill to refine. If it was in normal times, she would need at least half a day to refine it. Moreover, it relied on the power of the Dragon God Cauldron. However, now she was using an ordinary tool that could not be any more ordinary. To refine it within 2 hours, it was really a bit difficult. But a bit difficult, she had to do it. She did not have the qualifications to lose the competition. She had to win. She had to win. The sweat on her forehead had already reached her curly eyelashes, blurring her eyes. Clang clang clang, another burst of bell rang. There is still half an incense stick of time before the end of the competition. Yiqing Luo's chin dripped a drop of sweat. She gazed at the tool, suddenly raised her palm, and slapped towards the nearby tool. That tool bounced up. In the next moment, a ball of heart fire directly wrapped that tool. Like a fire dragon, it completely swallowed that tool. Mu Zifei cried out, staring incredulously at that tool wrapped by the heart fire. Brother, the power of her heart fire is actually this. I will not misjudge people. Mu Zifei's eyes concealed a trace of excitement and joy. He finally waited for Yiqing Luo to appear. He knew Yiqing Luo could help him refine the pills he wanted. At the moment when the last incense stick of time was extinguished, that flame that wrapped Yiqing Luo's tool suddenly dissipated. The tool fell into Yiqing Luo's hands. She took out the pill and placed it into the medicine bottle provided by the Alchemist Guild. Immediately, she pasted her name on it. When the paper was stuck to the bottle flashed, and the paper fused with the bottle. Aside from the elders of the Alchemy Union, no one could open this bottle. This was also to ensure the fairness of the alchemist competition. After the second round of competition ended, Yiqing Luo was already exhausted. When the elder took the bottle and Bai Fan pulled it down, Bai Fan's expression changed. Mu Zifan spoke a few simple words and let all the alchemists go back to rest. Yiqing Luo held her forehead. In order to save time, he had used up a bit too much of his profound heart jade's energy. She shook her head and walked out of her seat. On the opposite side, Bai Mingche had coincidentally walked out and saw Yiqing Luo's exhausted face. "Miss, are you all right? You don't look well." Yiqing Luo waved her hand, rejecting his concern. He then left the alchemy square. She passed by the 4 alchemists who were surrounding her and Bai Mingche. Yiqing Luo's eyes turned cold. Her body suddenly went limp, and she bumped into one of the alchemists. That alchemist immediately scolded angrily, and was just about to stretch out his hand to push her away, but Yiqing Luo grabbed his wrist. Yiqing Luo weakly propped up her body, and weakly hooked up a trace of an apologetic smile. "Sorry, refining the pill exhausted the power of the heart fire, my body is somewhat unstable." Chapter 979. After walking out of the public square, Yiqing Luo's peripheral vision caught a glimpse of those alchemists who were still cursing and swearing as her eyes turned cold. She chuckled and retracted her gaze. Following that, she turned around and walked towards the direction of the inn. She had just turned around when she bumped into a familiar broad embrace. The familiar sandalwood scent seeped into her nostrils. Yiqing Luo's eyes curved as she raised her hand to encircle his neck and tiptoed as she kissed him on the lips. "Where did you go?" "Checking on some matters." Dmo Xian gently pinched her cheek. Seeing that he wasn't willing to say more, Yiqing Luo didn't ask any further. Dmo Xian had accompanied her to the Alchemist Guild. He must have pushed away many things from the Imperial Palace. Yiqing Luo's eyelashes fluttered as guilt started to spread from the bottom of her heart. Xian, thank you." Staring at the sudden flash of disappointment and apology in Yiqing Luo's eyes, Dmo Xian's thin lips rose slightly as he pinched her chin. "How are you going to thank me?" His voice was deep and mellow like fine wine. And it was filled with hints of seductive charm. Yiqing Luo only felt that she couldn't hold it in any longer. This tormenting evildoer. Flirting at the slightest disagreement. Yiqing Luo raised her eyes as she stared at this face in a daze. Even with half a mask, it was still unable to conceal his peerless looks. Following that, she tiptoed again as she offered her pink lips without any scruples. The surroundings were bustling with people. Yiqing Luo didn't care about other people's gazes. Dmo Xian's gloomy deep eyes were filled with a tender smile. He was about to tighten his grip on her and deepen the kiss. But unexpectedly, the young lady in his arms suddenly went limp as she fell into his arms. "Lil Luo, Dmo Xian's expression turned flustered as he supported her with one arm as he sized up her condition. The young lady's eyes were shut as her eyelashes appeared long and thick. Her tender red lips were stained with strands of silver, giving off an alluring luster. Smooth and gentle breathing, gently inhaling and exhaling. She had only fallen asleep. This awareness made Dmo Xian heave a sigh of relief. At the same time, he felt helpless. How could there be a woman who was kissing a man and was about to ignite a raging fire, and then she actually fell asleep? Was his charm not as good as before? "Lad, just let little girl Luo rest for a while. She has just refined a top-grade level 5 pill and has used up too much of her heart fire's power, causing her body to be overloaded. That's why she's in self-recovery mode." Old Man Song transmitted his voice into Dmo Xian's mind. Dmo Xian frowned slightly as he stared at the young lady sleeping soundly in his arms. Why did she like to put on a brave front so much? He stretched out his arm and directly carried Yiqing Luo's waist as he left towards the direction of the inn. Behind them, a youth wearing an azure alchemist's robe stared at their departing figures in a daze. A trace of doubt flashed across her clear eyes. So, she could also have such a gentle side. Yiqing Luo slept all the way till the next morning. Dmo Xian was still not in the room. He must have left to handle some matters. Yiqing Luo got up and slightly revolved the power of her profound jade heart. He could control it freely. The feeling of overexertion from yesterday was also gone. Just as she left the inn, she saw Mu Zifei waiting for her on the first floor. Seeing her coming down, he greeted her with a grin. "Qing Luo, have you rested well? Do you have confidence in today's third round?" "And, no problem." Yiqing Luo nodded. The two of them left the inn together and headed towards the pill refining square. Chapter 980. Alliance Leader. The Alchemist Union's Union Master personally inspecting. He was so busy that he could compete with Dmo Xian. The dragon's head was nowhere to be seen. He actually personally came to the Alchemy Union to check the results of the competition. "You also secretly reveal a little to me yesterday's medicinal pill. Was it successfully refined?" Mu Zifei leaned close to Yiqing Luo and asked in a low voice. Yiqing Luo nodded. "Yes, but time was a little rushed, so I didn't manage to refine the high-grade Ice Soul Spirit Ginseng pill, only the middle grade." Middle rank, Mu Zifei was thoroughly stupefied. Yesterday when he and his brother were still discussing, he thought that Yiqing Luo wanted to refine a low-grade Ice Soul Spirit Ginseng pill. He hadn't expected that she actually wanted to refine a high-grade 5th-level pill. This was way too confident. If there are other alchemists who are able to refine higher-quality medicinal pills, I'm afraid it won't be easy to win. Yiqing Luo shook her head helplessly. "We can only watch the third round." But Mu Zifei didn't think so. To be able to refine a level 5 elixir in just 2 hours was already a heaven-defying matter. Furthermore, it was a middle-grade Ice Soul Spirit Ginseng pill. Among this batch of alchemists, he hadn't discovered any alchemist whose innate talent or refining ability surpassed Yiqing Luo. No, wait. Mu Zifei suddenly recalled that his elder brother mentioned an alchemist yesterday. He was extremely satisfied with the pill that the alchemist refined in the second round. To Yiqing Luo, would there be any threat? Mu Zifei was just about to tell Yiqing Luo, but after careful consideration, he still kept his mouth shut. The main reason why Yiqing Luo took part in the competition was because of the light spirit immortal grass. If he made her feel pressured now, it would affect her performance in the third round. The third round was similar to the second round. The difference was, the second round was to refine pills. The third round was to concoct poison. Compared to refining pills, poison was much more troublesome. This was because the ingredients for poisons were mostly all kinds of medicinal herbs and herbs that contain toxins. If they were not careful, it was very likely that the alchemist would be poisoned. Furthermore, if any accidents were to happen during the refining process, he would definitely be able to deal with them. The poison of this poison would follow the power of the heart fire and directly spread into the profound jade heart of the alchemist. In the end, it spread to his limbs and bones. This was also the reason why countless alchemists chose to become orthodox alchemists. As for people like Yi Fingru, they weren't orthodox alchemists. They were dark alchemists who specialized in concocting poisons. The books that the ghost doctor had taught her and shown her were basically all medicinal herbs and techniques used by orthodox medicine refiners. He had never taught her how to refine poison pills. Here, Yiqing Luo wanted to once again deeply thank the existence of the 100 refinement pill. She had already memorized all the herbs and medicine list in the 100-pill refining manual. She was also fearless in the third round. He entered the plaza and found his seat. Yiqing Luo sat on the wooden chair, waiting for the third round of the competition to begin. Not long after, there was a commotion in the square. 4 women, along with a group of guards, were trying to force their way over to them. The guards of the Alchemy Guild couldn't even stop them. Those 4 ladies speedily rushed into the public square and directly walked in front of Yiqing Luo, pointing at her with a face filled with rage. Each and every one of them opened their mouths and gesticulated angrily. However, not a single one of them could make a sound. This farce caused the elders on the platform to feel displeased. Chapter 981. From among the guards, a lady who was dressed like a wet nurse popped out. She stood in the middle of the 4 ladies as she wailed mournfully, "Our young miss took part in your Alchemist Guild's alchemist competition because she worships the Alchemist Guild and wanted to join you. But now she's being poisoned in your place." Wu Tao's brows creased as he berated her sternly, "Who is your young miss? How did she get poisoned? If you can't give me an explanation, this elder will chase you out of Alchemy City right now." That lady suddenly knelt down on the ground as she pointed at the 4 ladies behind her while wailing, "This is my young miss and the other 3 are my young miss's friends." 4 young misses were taking part in the alchemist competition at the pill refining plaza yesterday but suffered this vicious little slut's evil scheme. 4 young misses can't make any sound. Listening to the ladies' cries, Wu Tao's face was filled with suspicion as he looked at those 4 ladies as his brows creased tightly. Those 4 ladies were the alchemists who gossiped and smashed Yiqing Luo's seat yesterday. At this moment, all of them were gesticulating as their mouths kept moving but no sound could be heard at all. "What evidence do you have to prove that I did it?" Yiqing Luo's lips curled into a smile. "I've just arrived and purely wanted to take part in the alchemist competition. I have no enmity with the 4 young misses, so why would I lay my hands on them?" Her brows rose as her gaze looked straight at those 4 furious ladies. Could it be that the 4 young misses have done something to me which would make me lay my hands on you? When she said that, those 4 ladies were stunned. Yiqing Luo continued to smile. "Yesterday, after taking part in the second round of written examinations, my heart flame's energy was exhausted, so I left the plaza and returned to the inn to rest." This point, second young master Mu can testify. Mu Zifei, who was named, immediately nodded his head. Right. Yesterday after leaving the plaza, she fainted, and I believe there are quite a number of alchemists present as well as commoners who saw it. After that, she had been resting in the inn until now. This point, I can testify. The 4 ladies' faces instantly turned steely green as they looked at each other in dismay, as though they had eaten a pile of sh*t. Wu Tao immediately frowned and furiously called out to the guards, "Chase these troublemakers away. They don't know right from wrong and wrongly accuse others." Yesterday, they even gathered a crowd to bully foreign alchemists, break the positions of other alchemists, and disrupt the Alchemist Guild's official business. This elder will also represent the Alchemy Union to personally ask all of you ladies how you handed this junior over to you. The 4 women were frightened. They trembled as they stood to the side, not daring to point fingers. The woman's cries stopped abruptly. The Alchemy Union was the most powerful force in Alchemy City. Seeing that Wu Tao was furious, the guards brought by the 4 women did not dare to act rashly. However, the few of them were forcefully restrained. These 4 women are so young, but their hearts are so vicious. They don't distinguish right from wrong, and they even attempt to murder others. The Alchemy Union doesn't dare to accept such people. Wu Yu's eyes narrowed as she coldly swept her gaze over those people. These 4 women will be stripped of their alchemy qualifications and will never be recruited again. With a stern shout, those few people were brought away. When Wu Tao faced Yiqing Luo, he restrained some of his anger, This matter is the problem of the Alchemy Union's order being lax. I hope Miss Yi is magnanimous enough to forgive us. Chapter 982. Yes, this is the assessment to join the Alchemist Guild. If the alchemist is outstanding in the assessment, he will be accepted as a closed-door disciple by the Alchemist Guild's elder. Wu Tao nodded his head as he stared at her with glowing eyes and asked tentatively, "May I know which elder Miss Yi is in love with?" Mu Zi Fan. Yi Qing Luo spat out these 3 words through gritted teeth. Wu Tao was stunned. "You want to be apprenticed to the young chief?" "I want to strangle him to death." Yi Qing Luo grinded her teeth with a fake smile as she coldly swept a glance at the Mu brothers on the high platform. Wu Tao. This was the first time someone wanted to strangle their young chief. Yi Qing Luo's heart was filled with the feeling of King dog. She was cheated by the Mu brothers. Initially, he thought that it was just a simple competition. She didn't expect it to be the assessment to join the Alchemist Guild. The Mu brothers were determined to pull her into the Alchemist Guild. But even if she knew that this was the assessment to join the Alchemist Guild, she was afraid that she would still resolutely participate in this competition. This was the only way to get the Light Spirit Immortal Herb. The third round, the competition to refine the poison pill, kicked off. Yi Qing Luo was still the same as the second round. After entering the medicinal storehouse, she casually glanced around and quickly found the medicinal herbs that she needed. Returning to her position, Yi Qing Luo started to refine the poison pill. But she didn't know that there were 2 pairs of eyes on the high platform, staring at her without blinking. This is the alchemist that you think has an extremely high innate talent. Behind Mu Zifan was a middle-aged man dressed in a white robe. Mu Zifan didn't turn back as he smiled and nodded, yes. Mu Zifei also widened his eyes, looking at Yi Qing Luo's actions, puzzled. The medicinal herbs she chose are all ordinary poisonous herbs, and there's also a small amount of poisonous raw materials, that's all. How can these medicinal herbs refine the winning poison pill? Mu Zifan and that middle-aged man smiled but didn't say a word. Indeed, the medicinal herbs that Yi Qing Luo chose were just ordinary poisonous herbs and poisonous raw materials. But once these poisonous herbs and raw materials were combined together, the toxicity would be stronger than countless other poison pills. Her technique is also very thought-provoking. The middle-aged man looked at Yi Qing Luo thoughtfully. If you want to make use of poisonous herbs and poisonous raw materials to fuse them together to become a highly toxic poisonous pill, then you must control the amount of each poisonous herb and raw material, not one bit more or less. Mu Zifan nodded. Looking at the entire alchemy union, I'm afraid that even I wouldn't be able to confidently say that I would be able to mix an appropriate amount. She is indeed an extremely talented apothecary, but looking at her refining technique, it reminds me of someone who could make the current Alchemy Union head think of had to be a master. The Alliance Master's lips twitched slightly. A dark and gloomy glint flashed across his eyes as he slowly spat out 2 words, Ghost Doctor. The third match ended. After Yi Qing Luo handed over the medicine bottle, she waited patiently for the results to come out. Because the third round was about refining poison pills, the medicinal herbs prepared in the medicine storehouse were not very toxic. Yi Qing Luo took a risk out of desperation and used the most ordinary poisonous herbs and raw materials to combine them together. As long as the amount and flame was controlled well, she would be able to refine a type of extremely toxic pill. This prescription was learned from the 100 Medicines pill refining. Yi Qing Luo was very confident about the third round's poison pill. All the alchemists waited at the same spot for a full 1 hour. Chapter 983. The winner of this round's selection was personally chosen by the chief. When Yi Qing Luo's examination paper and the second and third round's medicinal pills were placed in front of everyone, Yiqing Luo's suspenseful heart finally calmed down. She had won the first place in this round's alchemist competition. Because of Yiqing Luo's relationship with the Mu brothers, the Alchemist Guild had specially announced Yiqing Luo's participation in the 3 rounds of the competition. The first round of written examinations. The examination paper, full marks, no mistakes at all. The second round of alchemy competition. Middle grade ice soul spirit ginseng pill, high quality, the most outstanding medicinal pill among the many alchemists. The third round of refining poisonous pills. Top-grade twin poisons, high quality and was the most outstanding one among all the poisonous pills. The crowd's gaze towards Yiqing Luo was as though they were looking at a monster. This was simply too abnormal. Just a short 2 hours and she was able to refine such a good medicinal pill. They must have opened their eyes in the wrong way. It was absolutely the wrong way of looking at the results. Miss Yi, congratulations on becoming the second 24th round's alchemist competition's champion. These prizes are all yours. The chief stood on the stage as he gazed at Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo remained calm as she replied emotionlessly, "Thank you, chief, for your appreciation." Saying that, she didn't have any shyness as she walked up and received those prizes from the chief's hands. From the start to the end, her expression had not changed at all. Chief narrowed his eyes in interest as he laughed softly. "I wonder which elder Miss Yi has your heart set on. You can directly acknowledge him as your master." Yiqing Luo frowned as she lowered her head to look at the prizes in her hands and placed it back on the table. She only took out the light spirit immortal grass. "It's my honor to join the Alchemist Guild, but I currently have no intention to acknowledge anyone as my master. As for the other prizes, just treat it as me presenting Buddha with borrowed flowers, to all the elders." Chief looked thoughtfully at the light spirit immortal grass in Yiqing Luo's hands. Strange. That person had really guessed correctly. By adding the light spirit immortal grass into the prizes, the genius alchemist that Mu Zifan wanted would definitely come looking for him. How did that person guess that someone would need the light spirit immortal grass? What motive did that person have? Seeing the silence, numerous people were silently scolding Yiqing Luo for not knowing what's good for her. Mu Zifan stood up and smiled warmly. "Master, Qing Luo's companion has been poisoned by the purple poppy grass and urgently needs the elixir herb to detoxify the poison. Moreover, Qing Luo is still a student. Since the competition is over, I'll send her back to the academy first. As for the rest, we'll talk about it during the next vacation. What do you think, Master?" Mu Zifan knew how Yiqing Luo felt about this matter. After obtaining the spiritual immortal herb, she couldn't wait to return to Yan Shaoyi's side and help her refine the antidote. At this moment, he definitely didn't have the mood to stay and celebrate. He extended the invitation to Yiqing Luo was indeed to pull her into the Alchemist Guild's banner. He had lied to Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo wanted to leave the Alchemist Guild immediately, so he helped her settle it immediately. The Alliance Master's gaze was still profound. He rubbed his chin and smiled faintly. "The matter of the antidote cannot be delayed. Come back as soon as possible." "Yes." Mu Zifan respectfully bowed towards the chief and immediately looked towards Yiqing Luo. His clear eyes were filled with some apologies. After a long while, he said, "I'm sorry." Yiqing Luo had no intention to blame him. Mu Zifan wanted to rope her in and invite her to join the Alchemist Guild. She was very clear about this. After Xiao Yi recovers, I'll report to the Alchemist Guild during the next vacation. Yiqing Luo shook her head. Since this was the Alchemist Guild's rule, she had to abide by it. Chapter 984. Yiqing Luo's words made Mu Zifan feel even more guilty. "Qing Luo, if you're not willing, I can explain the situation to Master." He admitted that right from the start, his motive was to pull Yiqing Luo into the Alchemist Guild. But when Yiqing Luo was willing to join the Alchemist Guild, Mu Zifan was flustered. He knew that Yiqing Luo was willing to join the Alchemist Guild because she didn't want to see him being put on the spot. It was just like how she would rather make a move in secret and poison those 4 female alchemists, but on the surface, she would swallow her anger and not argue with those alchemists. It was also for his own good. Even though she was deceived by him, she still treated him as a friend. I joined the Alchemy Union because I want to abide by the union's rules. You don't need to feel burdened. Yiqing Luo saw his remorseful look and shot him a comforting smile. Even if you didn't invite me to take part in the competition, but if I can get the spiritual immortal grass, I will still come. Mu Zifan pursed his thin lips and gazed at Yiqing Luo's face. Her face was reflected in his deep, dark eyes. After a long time, Mu Zifan lowered his eyelids. I have my reasons for doing this. After this matter is over, I will tell you my reasons. Yiqing Luo nodded with a smile, all right. After getting the spirit immortal grass, Yiqing Luo didn't want to stay any longer. When she returned to the inn, Dmo Xian was already waiting for her. He totally believed that Yiqing Luo would be able to bring back the spirit immortal grass. The 4 of them left the inn, abandoned the horse carriage and rushed back to the Heavenly Academy overnight. When they arrived at the Heavenly Academy, it was already the next morning. When Yiqing Luo returned to the academy, she took the Ganoderma grass and headed towards the library pavilion's 2nd story, passing the spirit immortal grass to Ghost Doctor. The Ghost Doctor stared at the spiritual immortal grass for a long time, his sinister eyes narrowed slightly. You got it from the Alchemy Guild? Yiqing Luo nodded, yes. Is there any problem? No problem. The Ghost Doctor casually placed the spiritual immortal grass on the messy table at the side. Come and get the antidote tonight. Hearing Ghost Doctor say that, Yiqing Luo heaved a sigh of relief. After relaxing, his whole body felt exhausted. After bidding farewell to Ghost Doctor, Yiqing Luo returned to the devil class, preparing to head to the spiritual Qi grounds to rest for a few hours. Arriving at the training grounds, 10 over youngsters were sitting on the ground. When they saw Yiqing Luo, they didn't welcome her with the joy they had imagined, to ask her about the results of the competition. All of them were frowning and stuttering, as if they wanted to say something but didn't dare to. Yiqing Luo hooked her finger at Ni Ruo Pan. What happened? Ni Rupan moved her body forward and said with a worried expression, on the day you left the academy, the dean sent a notice to all the students, saying that the interclass competition would be brought forward. Bringing forward the interclass competition. Yiqing Luo was stunned and frowned at Ni Ruo Pan. Why? The news of devil class participating in the interclass competition has reached the dean. Ni Rupan clenched her fists tightly. Her face was filled with anger. The same goes for Shangguan Liuli's bet. It seems like the Shangguan clan has joined hands with some other big clans, and requested for the interclass competition to be held in advance. Just for this reason. Yiqing Luo's slender brows rose slightly, but she felt that things weren't that simple. President, was it because of the other large clans that the interclass competition was brought forward? If her guess wasn't wrong. This year's interclass competition should be prepared for the King of Darkness. Chapter 985. What assessment segment? Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased as she sensed something amiss. Ni Ruo Pan puffed her cheeks angrily. Director announced that the interclass competition will be held in the middle of next month and those who wish to take part must first pass the Heavenly Pagoda's ability assessment. This test is obviously targeted at our devil class. Principal, this test is to force our devil class to back off. Still saying it's for the sake of devil class's students. This assessment, as long as 10 students are able to come out from the Heavenly Pagoda, then it will be considered as passing the assessment. The students vented the anger in their hearts with righteous indignation. More importantly, Long Yunjan remained silent for a long time before opening his mouth faintly, 1 month later, to participate in the interclass competition, to Devil class, it's a little too rushed. Yiqing Luo's gaze swept around and those in front of her lowered their heads because of this sentence. If there was another 6 to 7 months' time, they might have the confidence to improve themselves and go against the other classes. But time was tight and there was only 1 month left. Their ability was indeed much stronger than many students in the intermediate and high profound classes. But if they really had to compete, it would still be a little difficult. After all, there was a reason why the high profound class was called high profound class. Daily small scuffles, to let the high profound class suffer a little was not a problem. The competition was completely different from completing missions, killing people, and so on. They were not of the same nature. If they really had to compete, they might not be able to gain the upper hand. And the most important reason was, it was the bet that Yiqing Luo and Shengguan Luli had set. It wasn't winning Shengguan Luli, winning the high profound class, it would be considered as winning the bet. But winning the championship. What was set? Was a blood oath bet, so it had to be fulfilled. Next month was the competition and they had to take part in the interclass competition's ability assessment. There was no time for them to prepare at all. The other classes, each class had about 300 over people. Whereas Devil class, the entire class only had 60 people, including Kitty Lee. In terms of numbers, they were already at a disadvantage. Do you have the confidence to pass the assessment? Yiqing Luo heard that, but didn't reveal any excess emotions. The youths in Devil class were all stunned. Those youths who lowered their heads in guilt and had no confidence, all raised their heads, yes. Yiqing Luo's eyes narrowed slightly as her voice was no longer as gentle as usual. You don't even have enough confidence in the ability assessment. What interclass competition is there to talk about? The youngsters trembled as they looked at Yiqing Luo's imposing gaze as they clenched their fists tightly. When he spoke again, his voice was extremely loud and clear. I have confidence. If you can't even pass the mysterious pagoda's strength test, then how can you participate in the interclass competition? What qualifications do you have to talk about winning? If you're confident, then why are you worried? Yiqing Luo's charming eyes swept past everyone in front of her. The powerful aura caused everyone's hearts to tremble. The youth's slightly childish faces gradually overflowed with radiance. Their burning gazes were fixated on Yiqing Luo's direction. Seeing the glint in their eyes, Yiqing Luo then revealed a smile, but her voice and tone was still dignified. If you have the confidence to pass the ability assessment, then you have enough ability to take part in the competition. The youths replied in unison, yes. We are confident. We can take first place. Chapter 986. You must have rushed back through the night. Long Yunjan saw the fatigue in Yiqing Luo's eyes. Go and rest first, I'll train them. Ever since they returned from King Ling's tomb, the distance between Long Yunjan and them seemed to have a barrier. The brothers didn't blame him. But he couldn't get over that barrier. He had isolated himself from the world outside of them. This barrier could only be walked out by Long Yunjan himself. Yiqing Luo sighed softly as her slender fingers pressed on her brows. All right, I'll leave this place to you. I'll go take a rest first. When she passed by Long Yunjan, she raised her hand and patted his shoulder lightly. A light voice, like a mosquito's mumble, floated into his ears. Long Yunjan shuddered. His azure blue eyes congealed deeply towards Yiqing Luo. But he saw Yiqing Luo already walking towards the direction of the classroom, waving her hand without turning back. She said, I understand you, but please don't give up on everyone. This sentence had left an indelible mark in his heart. She actually understood him so well. Knew that even if he stayed, his heart was filled with guilt towards these students, towards Yan Shaoyi. He stayed, because he didn't want to see his brothers constantly worrying about him, and not being able to do anything else. So he swallowed all the guilt by himself, trying his best to display the past look in front of his brothers. That's right. Even if he gave up on himself. But he couldn't give up on everyone. When he looked back, Long Yunzhan's gaze had already added some calmness. He had no emotions on his face, as his gaze congealed on the youngsters in front of him, his voice sonorous and forceful. Don't forget what Qing Luo once said, whether we are trash or not, is not up to others to decide, but up to ourselves. We don't want to be treated as trash by others, then. This time is our battle to rise up. Not only do we need to fight for ourselves, we also need to fight for Qing Luo. For ourselves, for Qing Luo, our training must be even harder. Every single word was like a bell, striking into one's heart. The strong imposing manner, as well as his own prestige, incited the youngsters' battle intent. What we need to do, is to win the championship. Not try our best, not possibly. I will not accept any result other than winning the championship. The youths in Devil class stared at their own class monitor. The class monitor, who had never spoken such a long sentence before, had never spoken such a long sentence. The radiance in his eyes grew brighter. All of them nodded their heads vigorously. Yes. We will definitely be the champion. We will definitely be the champion. What they persisted in was not just to change the impression they gave others, and to fight for Yi Qing Luo. He absolutely could not allow Yi Qing Luo to have her profound heart jade crippled and her meridians crippled. Yi Qing Luo rested for about 6 hours in the Spirit Qi Treasure Land. His fatigue was swept away. She stretched her body and left the treasure trove of spiritual energy. As soon as he left, he heard the sounds of the youths training in Training Chang's area. There was a smile in her eyes, but she didn't go over to disturb them. Looking at the time, it was almost evening. After not eating for a day, he left the Devil class and prepared to get something to eat. Just as he walked out of the Devil class's courtyard, he saw Lu Xiaoyu walking towards him. Qing Luo. Lu Xiaoyu called out happily. She didn't expect to see her just when she was about to look for Yi Qing Luo. Yi Qing Luo's long arm hooked over her shoulder. Let's go, I'll treat you to a meal at the canteen. Chapter 987. The Cafeteria. Looking at the delicacies being served, Lu Xiaoyu's eyes lit up as she swallowed her saliva. Yi Qing Luo smiled helplessly. Sometimes she envied Lu Xiaoyu's attitude towards people. Just getting the last piece of delicious food would make her happy for a long time. A contented person is always happy. If everyone was like you, everyone would be able to live an easy life. Thinking of this, Yi Qing Luo couldn't help but sigh with emotion. Lu Xiaoyu was busy eating, and when she heard Yi Qing Luo's words, she raised her head and giggled. Suddenly, he recalled his motive for coming to look for Yi Qing Luo. She put down the delicacies in her hands and leaned towards Yi Qing Luo's direction. Right, do you know about the matter of the interclass competition being brought forward? Yes. Yi Qing Luo had also guessed the reason why Lu Xiaoyu was looking for her. As expected, Lu Xiaoyu asked, don't you find it strange that the interclass competition was brought forward? What's strange about it? Yi Qing Luo raised her brows as she looked at her. Lu Xiaoyu frowned and muttered, although I don't know what's strange, why did the dean suddenly hold the competition 5 months in advance? And they even want to do a class test. She paused and said mysteriously, I've asked my old classmates who have been studying in the academy. In all these years, such a thing has never happened. Speaking up to this point, Lu Xiaoyu looked around and immediately lowered her voice. The dean must have a reason for doing this, right? What do you think it is? Yi Qing Luo remained silent. There were some things that she couldn't say for the time being. If she said it now, it would ruin things instead. Towards director's action, although Yi-Ching Luo wasn't able to guess the reason behind it. However, he was certain that it was closely related to the King of Darkness. There should be an even greater secret hidden within. Thinking in this way, Yi-Ching Luo was happy to see it happen. She did not know how the mysterious Yin Qi in her body had entered her body. If it happened again, she really didn't know if she could control herself. One could tell just by looking at Long Yunjian. If she did something that she would regret for the rest of her life, she would never be able to forgive herself. If the interclass competition was really brought forward because of the dark forces, perhaps she could take this opportunity to get some clues. I think it's good this way too, to let everyone gain some experience. Yi-Ching Luo elegantly raised her teacup and sipped a mouthful of tea as she gave a faint smile. After all, this is the Academy's large-scale competition. After the test, we will then be allowed to take part in the competition, which will reduce the number of casualties. Lu Xiaoyu shook her head. She still felt that there was something wrong. A woman's intuition had always been very accurate. It was better to be more careful. Yi-Ching Luo only gave a slight smile and didn't explain her thoughts. The reason why they joined the competition was to let the students of Devil class get rid of the title of trash, so that they would not have to hide anymore. To the Devil class, this was a very good opportunity. They could make use of this opportunity to openly tell the others that they were not trash. Ching Luo, do you still insist on taking part in this competition? Lu Xiaoyu asked worriedly. Lu Xiaoyu's worries weren't groundless. After all, there were numerous pairs of eyes staring at Yi-Ching Luo, waiting to see her make a fool of herself. Yi and Luo, Yi-Chi, Xiaoyu said. Chapter 988. This battle was not only for Devil class, but also for Shengguan Lu Li's actions. She wanted to get back at them for what they had done. Yi-Ching Luo squinted her eyes as a chilly glint flashed past her eyes. A kind horse would be ridden by others and a kind person would be bullied. Yi-Ching Luo wasn't willing to be bullied. It was time to settle Shengguan Lu Li's debts and she would not be soft-hearted. The tea in her hands had already turned cold. Yi-Ching Luo swept a glance and casually placed it aside. Now Yi-Ching Luo didn't have any appetite because she felt that after this interclass competition, there might be a chance to come into contact with the Lord from the Dark Forces. How to grasp the propriety and whether it would implicate some people. That was something that was still unknown. Ching Luo, then do you have confidence in this assessment? Lu Xiaoyu saw that she had already made up her mind and could only dispel the thought of dissuading her. Yi-Ching Luo understood Lu Xiaoyu's worries. In the eyes of outsiders, this assessment's regulations were indeed too harsh for Devil class. According to the assessment's regulations, every class must have at least 10 students who passed the assessment. But based on Devil class's situation, whether they could gather 10 students to pass the assessment was still a problem. At least from Lu Xiaoyu's perspective, 10 students who passed the assessment was an astronomical figure to Devil class. If the number of students was not enough, then what should Yi-Ching Luo do? Wouldn't Devil class be ridiculed by the entire Academy's students again? Yi-Ching Luo had yet to reply when Shengguan Lu Li happened to pass by. Shengguan Lu Li apparently heard Lu Xiaoyu's words as she instantly stopped in her tracks. She swept a disdainful glance at Yi-Ching Luo and immediately ridiculed, you still want to stand out in that kind of waste class. Devil class's waste have no chance of passing the assessment. But you might have a chance, but what can you do alone? Shengguan Lu Li, what did you eat today? Your mouth is so smelly. Lu Xiaoyu stood up suddenly as she retorted angrily. Shengguan Lu Li stared at her and continued, I'm telling the truth. Ask Yi-Ching Luo, other than her, who else can pass the assessment? Lu Xiaoyu instantly wilted as she braced herself to continue staring at Shangguan Liuli, but she couldn't say a single word. What Shangguan Liuli said was right, the devil class was indeed worrying. If Yiqing Luo was in any other class, then without a doubt, she would easily stand out from the rest. But devil class's side was stuck by one rule. Yiqing Luo, I advise you to dispel this thought. If you kneel down and beg me now, then I can still consider canceling our bet. The minute Shangguan Liuli saw Lu Xiaoyu wilting, she immediately spoke out arrogantly to Yiqing Luo. What bet? What kind of bet do you have? Lu Xiaoyu heard something wrong in his words and frowned in confusion. Shangguan Liuli's face was filled with a cold smile as she arrogantly raised her head. Student Yi took the initiative to make a bet with me. If devil class is unable to obtain first place in the interclass competition, she will cripple her profound heart jade, and cripple the tendons and meridians in her limbs. Lu Xiaoyu slammed the table and stood up. Her pretty face was full of anger. She rushed to Shangguan Liuli and grabbed her collar fiercely. Shangguan Liuli, what nonsense are you spouting? This is a bet which she personally set, what has it got to do with me? Shangguan Liuli patted the hand in front of her chest as a faintly discernible black chi flashed past her eyes. Let go. Chapter 989. Ask her yourself. Shangguan Liuli looked down at her collar, which was being clenched tightly. The darkness in her eyes grew thicker. She even made a blood oath with me. This kind of bet, if she is not willing, how can I force her? Lu Xiaoyu's face suddenly turned pale. Blood oath. Xiaoyu, let her go. Yiqing Luo glanced at the profound yin qi in Shangguan Liuli's eyes and stretched out her hand to pull Lu Xiaoyu away. Lu Xiaoyu saw that Yiqing Luo did not refute. Obviously, this matter was true. She clenched her fists and was pulled back a few steps by Yiqing Luo, biting her lower lip tightly. Blood oath cannot be cancelled, cannot be cancelled. Which meant that if Yiqing Luo was unable to win, her meridians would be broken and her profound jade heart destroyed. Facing Shangguan Liuli's complacent expression, Yiqing Luo totally ignored it. She directly pulled Lu Xiaoyu back to her seat. Little foodie, don't you love the cafeteria's roast duck? Eat more. After saying that, she picked up the cold tea on the table and took a sip. Her brows were calm and composed, as if she had not heard Shangguan Liuli's words. Yiqing Luo, you can't be arrogant for long. I'm waiting for you to break your meridians and cripple your profound energy. Shangguan Liuli's face turned green as she said fiercely. Yiqing Luo put down the teacup and pretended to be surprised as she turned her head to ask Lu Xiaoyu, Xiaoyu, do you smell something? Why is it so smelly? Lu Xiaoyu was also stunned for a moment before she regained her senses and looked at Shangguan Liuli with a smile. Probably someone's mouth is too smelly. Yiqing Luo, Lu Xiaoyu. Just you wait. Shangguan Liuli was fuming with anger. If it wasn't for the fact that fighting was prohibited in the academy, she would have hit them directly. Just at this moment, Shangguan Fangyi walked over from afar and pulled Shangguan Liuli's arm. Third brother. Shangguan Liuli was filled with anger as she shouted angrily at Shangguan Fangyi, these two are bullying me. Shangguan Fangyi took a look at Yiqing Luo, pulled Shangguan Liuli's arm and leaned to his side, and said in a deep voice, Student Yi, I have something to ask you. No comment, he answered without hesitation, not giving any face to Guan Fangyi. Yiqing Luo, you. Shangguan Liuli was instantly infuriated as the black qi in her eyes started to thicken. Shangguan Fangyi grabbed her in time and pressed down on her shoulders. Fifth sister, don't mess around for now. I have questions to ask her. Seeing the serious expression on Shangguan Fangyi's face, Shangguan Liuli pouted and shook off his hand. She kicked the chair beside her and stood there sulking. Shangguan Fangyi had no time to care about his sister's feelings. His vision was fixated on Yiqing Luo without blinking as he lowered his voice. The god relic which you obtained in King Ling's tomb, has it formed a blood pact with you? Yiqing Luo raised her eyelids and swept a glance at Sheng Wanfangyi, as her lips curled up in ridicule. Why, without the blood pact, you're preparing to snatch it? These words also made it clear that the divine artifact was with her. He didn't hide it anywhere else or hand it over to the overlord for safekeeping. It was on her body. Since she dared to directly expose it, Yiqing Luo had no intention of being afraid. After the battle in King Ling's tomb, Sheng Wanfangyi definitely wouldn't dare to easily make a move on her. Unless, he didn't want to live anymore. No, you've misunderstood. Sheng Wanfangyi's brows creased. He despised the act of fawning on Yiqing Luo. Chapter 990. Yiqing Luo's pink lips curled as her eyes were filled with ridicule. What if we form a blood pact? Then, on behalf of the Shengwan family, I sincerely invite you to become the elder of the Shengwan family. Pfft, Yiqing Luo almost spat out a mouthful of tea. Elder. Did she look old? The elder of the Shengwan family can enjoy all the rights and interests of the Shengwan family, and can mobilize all the troops of the Shengwan family, and anyone in the Shengwan family other than the patriarch. Sheng Wanfangyi deliberately slowed down his tone when he said the last sentence, probing Yiqing Luo's expression. Sheng Wanliuli, who was standing behind him, had a change of expression as she cried out in disbelief, "Third brother. What are you talking about? Anyone other than father? Didn't that include her? Let Yiqing Luo order her around." Was Sheng Wanfangyi crazy? This is father's order, shut up. Sheng Wanfangyi shook off Sheng Wanliuli's hand as he lowered his voice and berated her sternly. Sheng Wanliuli bit her lips tightly as her eyes were filled with tears, filled with grievance. Sheng Wanfangyi had no time to care about her emotions. He turned to Yiqing Luo with a fawning smile on his face. What does student Yi think? Yiqing Luo faintly curled her lips as her charming eyes overflowed with ridicule. The Shengwan family has put in a lot of effort for the power of the divine relic. Sheng Wanfangyi smiled even more flatteringly. Yes, this represents the sincerity of the Shengwan family in cooperating with student Yi. Then, my answer is... Yiqing Luo's eyes curved as a trace of ridicule flashed past. Just at this moment, Sheng Wanfangyi groaned inexplicably as he almost knelt on the ground. He held his chest as his face turned pale as a sheet as he tottered. Sheng Wanliuli was still sulking when she heard Sheng Wanfangyi's voice and immediately regained her senses. She saw Sheng Wanfangyi clutching his chest in pain while Yiqing Luo and Lu Xiaoyu had already stood up and walked towards another direction. Yiqing Luo, you're despicable. That undetectable murderous intent earlier, although it was just a flash, but Sheng Wanliuli clearly felt that it was Yiqing Luo who secretly hurt him. Yiqing Luo. Sheng Wanliuli furiously pointed at Yiqing Luo. You dare to make a move on my third brother in public. Yiqing Luo turned her head over and laughed lightly. Which eye of yours saw me making a move? Ask the students around you, did I do anything? The surrounding students shuddered and moved back a little. On one side was Yiqing Luo, who was currently in the limelight and was being spread around like a god. On the other side were the young masters and young mistresses of the Shengwan family. It would be wrong for them to speak up for either side. Speak. Was she the one who did it? Sheng Wanliuli's arrogant and spoiled temperament immediately surged in her heart. Apart from her, who else can hurt my third brother? After being forced into a corner, the student stammered in fear. I really didn't see student Yi make a move. Why did student Shengwan do this? It might not necessarily be related to student Yi, they were only telling the truth. With so many pairs of eyes watching, Yiqing Luo indeed had no signs of making a move. If he could injure Sheng Wanfangyi without moving, unless he used his profound chi. But the academy was equipped with profound chi scanning devices. If Yiqing Luo were to use her profound chi, she would definitely be discovered by the academy. Could it be? Shengguan Fangyi intentionally wanted to frame Yiqing Luo. This thought flashed past the students' minds. One by one, they nodded in agreement. There was a huge possibility of this. Chapter 991. Shengguan Fangyi, who was being looked at suspiciously by many students, couldn't say anything even if he wanted to. Inexplicably, his chest seemed to have been struck by something. The impact almost made her vomit out her internal organs. However, he had no idea what it was that had struck his chest. Indeed, they didn't see Yiqing Luo make a move. But it was absolutely Yiqing Luo. Other than Yiqing Luo, no one else could hurt him without leaving a trace. This was Yiqing Luo's answer. Unwilling to hand over the power of the divine artifact, Shengguan Fangyi frowned, and a trace of ruthlessness appeared in his eyes. Yiqing Luo scoffed disapprovingly and turned around to leave with Lu Xiaoyu. Shengguan Liuli flew into a rage out of humiliation as she took quick steps forward to block Yiqing Luo's path. Yiqing Luo. You were the one who attacked my third brother. Don't even think about denying it. Do you think you can do whatever you want just because you have a divine artifact? This was an academy. Attacking a fellow student is a violation of the academy rules. Yiqing Luo looked at her with a smile which didn't look like a smile. You said Qing Luo had violated the academy's regulations. Show us the evidence. If you don't have any evidence, what are you talking about? Lu Xiaoyu snorted coldly, not giving Shengguan Liuli any face. Do you have any evidence? Let's go to the faculty council together. Ask the faculty council to investigate if the injuries on my third brother were caused by you. If they were to announce that Yiqing Luo had violated the academy's regulations, directly asking the students to expel her, Devil class would not be able to participate in the interclass competition. Then, he would not be able to win. With their blood oath, she would definitely win. Thinking of this, Shengguan Liuli became more aggressive as she grabbed Yiqing Luo's arm and pulled her towards the entrance of the cafeteria. Her mouth kept shouting that she wanted to drag Yiqing Luo to the faculty council. Yiqing Luo's eyes turned slightly cold as her brows creased slightly and was about to shake Shengguan Liuli off. But she heard an extremely dignified voice coming from the cafeteria entrance. Student Yiqing Luo, is student Yiqing Luo around? The one who entered was the headmaster dressed in a white robe. The students immediately bowed respectfully. Elder Yunjin. This was the third elder who was ranked behind Yunxiang, Yunjin. Yiqing Luo and the others were extremely eye-catching. The minute Yunjin entered, she saw Yiqing Luo. Student Yiqing Luo, the director invites you over. Yunjin didn't bother about what had happened in the cafeteria as he directly followed the director's instructions to look for Yiqing Luo and pass on the news. Everyone was startled when they heard this. Yunjin's gaze calmly brushed past Shengguan Liuli's hand. Director invites student Yiqing Luo to the director's office. Don't let him wait for too long. Yiqing Luo's hand, which was about to shake off, stopped as her brows creased even tighter. The dean was looking for her. Could it be because of the divine artifact? In the tomb of the Ling King, he met a few people from the dark forces. Their target was the divine artifact. Moreover, the dark forces had stolen her profound heart jade, and now it had returned to its rightful owner. The dean was probably under the orders of the King of Darkness to come and find out more about the divine weapon, as well as other motives. Hey! Shengguan Liuli, did you hear that? The director wants to invite Qing Luo to the director's office. Why aren't you letting go? Do you want to follow her to the director's office, to look for the director to sort things out? Lu Xiaoyu saw that Shangguan Liuli still refused to let go of Yiqing Luo's hand. She stretched out her hand and grabbed hold of their hands, using all her might to pry them apart. Shangguan Liuli was violently pulled apart as she staggered backwards for a few steps, coincidentally knocking into Shangguan Fangyi. Shangguan Fangyi was knocked into again as his chest felt stuffy, and at the next instant, a trickle of blood started to flow out from the corner of his mouth. However, at this moment, no one bothered about whether Shangguan Fangyi was injured or not. Chapter 992. Let's go. Yiqing Luo patted the wrist which was held by Shangguan Liuli as she squinted her eyes and said indifferently. Yunjin led the way as Yiqing Luo followed closely behind. This time round, Shangguan Liuli didn't dare to stop her. She could only allow Yiqing Luo to leave. Shangguan Fangyi and Shangguan Liuli's faces were steely green as they gritted their teeth and swallowed their anger. Director's office. Yiqing Luo had just walked in when Yunjin left. There was only the director alone in the director's office. Seeing Yiqing Luo enter, the director raised his hand and indicated for her to sit opposite. In front of him, there was already a cup of fragrant tea. Yiqing Luo swept a glance at the tea as a gloomy glint flashed past her eyes. Following that, she raised her eyes and gazed at the director's direction as her lips curled. "Director is looking for me, what's the matter?" The director's sharp gaze stared at Yiqing Luo, as though he wanted to see a sliver of fear from her eyes. But there was no emotion at all. That pair of narrow eyes were filled with indifference. The dean's eyes flickered slightly, and he did not beat around the bush. "I heard that you led the mercenary group you established to the tomb of the Ling King during your holiday, and you got entangled with the dark forces." Yiqing Luo raised her brows in astonishment. The director actually took the initiative to mention the dark forces. Could it be that he was prepared to lay his cards on the table? Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes as her fingers caressed the azure dew ring on her fingertip, ready to summon Qi any time. Immediately following that, the director continued, "I've also heard about the matter of King Ling's tomb. You're just a student and yet you've caused such a huge sensation." He paused as he restrained the sharpness in his eyes and smiled. "Your innate talent and ability is the most outstanding student I've ever met since I became the director. Even the class of gods can't match up to you." Yiqing Luo didn't reply. She didn't understand the intention of the director's praise. "Student Yi, are you interested in joining the class of gods?" The next sentence made Yiqing Luo stunned. Last time, the instructors jointly requested the director to transfer her to the class of gods. The director still had an unwilling look. Now he actually brought it up. Could it be? Was he trying to use the class of gods to make a deal with her? Then, the headmaster said in a sincere and heartfelt tone, "Student Yi, although you are very strong, you are still a student after all. You should still focus on your studies. In the next few days, I'll arrange for you to enter the class of gods. That way, when you participate in the interclass competition, you'll definitely win." When Yiqing Luo heard this, she couldn't help but burst out laughing. He was a dignified headmaster, but he was actually concerned about whether she could win the interclass competition. In other words, he knew about the bet between her and Shangguan Liuli. Her smile made the director mistakenly thought that Yiqing Luo was moved by his suggestion. The dean's smile grew warmer. "That's settled then. Student Yi, I'll have a teacher from the class of gods come to pick you up in a moment." Not waiting for Yiqing Luo to reply, he continued, "After entering the class of gods, in order to catch up with the progress of the class, you still have to take part in the ability assessment and the interclass competition. The time after that, you will be extremely busy. You're just a student. There are a lot of things that can't be placed on you alone. Student Yi, if you hand over the people from the dark faction to the academy will definitely protect your safety. This was the director's motive. Did he want those people from the dark faction who she had captured to hand over to the director to handle? Chapter 993. Indeed. What ability assessment, bringing forward the interclass competition, joining the class of gods. All these were just for a dignified reason, to save those dark forces people from her hands. Director was someone from the dark forces. She handed those people who were imprisoned in the old mansion over to Director. Wasn't that releasing the tiger back into the mountain? Looked like. Leopard Saint Skill indeed knew quite a number of secrets from the dark forces. Otherwise, why would Director spend so much effort to think of ways to get those people from the dark forces in her hands? Yiqing Luo's eyes flashed past a cold glint, but her lips curled into a smile. No need to trouble Director. Those people from the dark forces had their profound jade heart and 4 limbs crippled by my mercenary group's mercenaries, and after 2 days of torture, they are all dead. While she was speaking, her expression didn't change at all. This kind of matter, to her, was very common. So calm that she didn't seem like a 15-year-old young lady. Dead. Director creased his brows suspiciously, as though he didn't believe it. Yiqing Luo met Director's eyes in puzzlement. Don't tell me Director doesn't wish for those evildoers to die. Of course I hope so. Director was suddenly questioned and his eyes flickered, but how could they die so easily? Then, did the people from the dark forces reveal any news? Mentioning this point, Yiqing Luo sighed softly and shook her head. They were stubborn, so the mercenaries increased the punishment. Who knew? They couldn't take the torture. Director didn't say another word. His dark and gloomy eyes gazed deeply at Yiqing Luo, as though he was trying to find a trace of lying from her expression. However, Yiqing Luo remained emotionless. Meeting Director's gaze for some time, Yiqing Luo intentionally changed the topic. But, in King Ling's tomb, I heard someone called Guardian Eagle saying something about the dark forces. As expected. When the 3 words, Guardian Eagle, was mentioned, Director's expression congealed. What did he say? Nothing much, just that he was fighting with someone called Elder Xiong. They quarreled and said the Lord of the Dark Forces wanted the divine relic. Everyone knew clearly what the motive of the dark forces was. Yiqing Luo also borrowed the topic of the divine relic to print out the word, his lordship. Killing each other. The dean murmured in a low voice, although he did not show it on his face. But that smear of panic and astonishment in his eyes didn't escape Yiqing Luo's eyes. She squinted her eyes and said, that's right. Protector Ing and Elder Xiong killed themselves so that I could have the chance to obtain the divine weapon. I should be grateful to them. Dead. The dean almost couldn't sit still. He suddenly stood up and placed his hands on the table in front of him. He tried his best to control his emotions and pretended that nothing had happened. But Yiqing Luo, who was clear of everything, was very clear of the director's current thoughts. All along, the one who had been in contact with the dean was Guardian Ing. Protector Ing must have made use of the principal's desire to work for the King of Darkness. Time and time again, he ordered the principal to take away a student's soul. Guardian Ing had yet to bring the dean to meet the King of Darkness. He died just like that. The headmaster's many years of hard work would also be destroyed with Guardian Ying's death. And now the person who was in contact with the dean had changed to Saint Law. Which meant that the hard work that the dean had put in these few years had to be overturned and started all over again. Chapter 994. A moment later, the principal clenched his fists tightly. His expression was as stern as ever. The dark forces are too rampant. As the dean of the academy, I will definitely protect my students. Student Yi, don't worry, you'll be safe in the academy. It was precisely because they were in the academy that she felt unsafe. Yiqing Luo's heart was filled with sincerity, but her face was all smiles. Thank you, Director, for your concern. If there's nothing else, I'll return to Devil class first. I still have to prepare for the ability assessment. The headmaster concealed the deep meaning in his eyes and slightly raised his white eyebrows. He understood the meaning behind her words. You don't want to go to the class of gods? No. Yiqing Luo replied without hesitation. President Ling stared at her in astonishment. Countless students racked their brains to get into the class of gods, hoping to be called a genius among geniuses. Yiqing Luo had 2 such opportunities. But he gave up again and again. The dean felt that since he had been the dean for so many years, his ability to judge people was definitely not bad. But he couldn't see through a 15-year-old girl. It was no wonder that his lord valued her so much. Thinking till here, the dean's gaze deepened as he stared at her. Since student Yi has already made up her mind, I won't stop you. If student Yi likes the devil class, then stay in the devil class. After a pause, he changed the topic. I still have a question for student Yi. Director, please speak. Yiqing Luo openly met his gaze. I heard that in the battle against the dark forces in the tomb of the Ling King, not only did student Yi use the power of the divine weapon, but she also used the ancient divine dragon and the holy beast, the white tiger. Is that true? The dean narrowed his eyes and enunciated each word clearly. His gaze seemed as though he wanted to take in every minute expression on Yiqing Luo's face. Yiqing Luo calmly raised her brows as her long and narrow eyes rose slightly. Yes, if it wasn't for Blue Dragon and White Tiger's help, I wouldn't be able to come back alive. You. How did you manage to get the help of the Holy Beast and the Divine Dragon? The headmaster could not help but frown slightly when he saw her speaking so casually. The former Yiqing Luo was famous for being a waste. Of course, it was very possible that she had purposely hidden her strength. However, he had never seen any traces of sacred beasts or divine dragons. Then she entered the Heavenly Academy. She had always been in the academy, acting under his watch. When did she contract with a holy beast and a divine dragon? Yiqing Luo smiled. During the holidays, I casually picked them up, and after that, they have been following me. Pick it up. How could a divine dragon be so easily picked up? How could a sacred beast be so easy to pick up? The dean's eyebrows twitched. He knew that this female student wasn't someone who could be easily fooled by other students. It was as difficult as ascending to the heavens to pry information out of her mouth. Protector Ying's death made him lose all other thoughts at this moment. Then, he waved his sleeves and said, "You can go now. Train well and try to pass the strength test." Yiqing Luo stood up and left with a faint smile. Just as he reached the door, he heard the dean's voice again. Right, student Yi, in order to ensure the fairness of the test and class competition, during the test and competition, you are not allowed to use the power of battle pets like the divine dragon and white tiger, nor are you allowed to activate the power of divine artifacts. I know. Right from the start, Yiqing Luo had no intention to use this heaven-defying power on Heavenly Academy students. Divine weapon, sacred beast. It was a life-saving trump card in a critical moment. Moreover, there was a surge of restless profound qi existing in her body which she was unable to capture. She didn't dare to use too much power. Walking out of the headmaster's office, Yiqing Luo closed her eyes. Now, she wanted to cast aside all distracting thoughts. Chapter 995. The ability assessment was arranged to be half a month before the interclass competition. Which was the beginning of the month. Which was the 3 days of holidays. Yiqing Luo could roughly guess. The 3 days of holidays was actually the time for the King of Darkness to offer his soul. In order to cover up for the dark forces. Every single holiday, Heavenly Academy would clear all the internal staff. Even the elders were not allowed to stay in the academy. Whereas in other academies, even if it was a holiday, one could choose to stay in the academy. It was enough to tell that there was something fishy going on during Heavenly Academy's holidays. This time round, they actually sacrificed the holiday of offering their soul to hold the ability assessment. What was the dark forces trying to do? These guesses were currently unable to get an answer. Only after the ability assessment, or after the interclass competition, would they find out. In the following time, Yiqing Luo threw herself into training the students. In the past training, these students were already complaining incessantly. This time round's training was even more rigorous than before. It could be said to be a hellish training. Until everyone's daily time, other than lying on the ground, was to train with all their might. When they were so tired that they were half dead, Baiming Lulu had refined out some medicinal pills. Consuming one pill, the depleted energy in their body would be replenished once again. But the energy in their body could be replenished. But after a long period of battle and training, the exhaustion in their bodies was still clearly felt. But no matter how tough or tiring it was, they would absolutely not utter a single word. After 7 days of training, Yan Xiao Yi, who had consumed the antidote which Ghost Doctor had refined, returned to the team. But Yiqing Luo's training for her didn't make her participate in the training forcefully. Yan Xiao Yi, who had just detoxified, was much weaker than usual. Most importantly, Yan Xiaoyi's poison was specially made by the dark forces, Dark 3 Evil Flower. The minute Yiqing Luo thought of the unstable profound yin qi in her body, she was worried that Yan Xiaoyi would be the same. This time round's ability assessment, Yiqing Luo also rejected Yan Xiaoyi's participation. My body is really fine now. I also want to contribute to the devil class. Yan Xiaoyi was unable to accept this suggestion. Qing Luo, I know you're worried about me, but I know my own body best. I also believe in Master Ghost Doctor's medical skills. Yiqing Luo sighed. She knew that the poison in Yan Xiaoyi's body had indeed been cleansed cleanly. However, she was still worried about the dark forces. Yiqing Luo was totally unable to guess the dark forces' methods. He was obsessed with Long Yunjian. One of her. Yiqing Luo didn't want Yan Xiaoyi to become the third sex addict. Even if it was just a guess. However, it was better to be safe than sorry. By the time Yan Xiaoyi really got infected by the profound yin qi from the Darkness 3 Demon Flowers backlash, everything would be too late. Xiaoyi, the strength test is only a small test, it's insignificant. What's important is the interclass competition. That's the most important match for us. During the testing period, you should recuperate your body. When the interclass competition starts, you will be the main force of the devil class. Yiqing Luo patted Yan Xiaoyi's shoulder lightly. I'll let Jin Zi accompany you. Yan Xiaoyi's eyelashes trembled slightly, as though she had been convinced by Yiqing Luo. But when she heard Yiqing Luo's last sentence, her quick-witted beautiful eyes suddenly blinked, as she looked straight at the young man standing behind Yiqing Luo. Qiao Jin was looking at Yan Xiaoyi with a face filled with worry, as he agreed with what Yiqing Luo said. Chapter 996. Qiao Jin's face suddenly flushed red. He subconsciously avoided Yan Xiaoyi's gaze as his back faced her as he walked towards the other direction. Afraid that Yan Xiaoyi would see the slight blush on his face. Afraid that Yan Xiaoyi would find out that he had taken advantage of her while she was unconscious. However, this turn of events, in Yan Xiaoyi's eyes, there was another meaning. A trace of sadness flashed across her clear and beautiful eyes. It was concealed extremely well, disappearing in a flash. Following that, her red lips moved slightly as her voice was icy cold, without any emotion. The person he wants to accompany isn't me, I don't need him to accompany me. Saying that, she turned her head and left without even turning her head back. The green and white academy uniform floated with the wind, as though it set off a green ripple, as though a green lotus was slowly blooming. Yiqing Luo opened her mouth but eventually pursed her pink lips tightly as she looked towards Qiao Jin's direction. Qiao Jin heard Yan Xiaoyi's words very clearly just now. He was stunned by that sentence. Seeing Yan Xiaoyi turning around to leave, he subconsciously lifted his leg to chase after her. But after taking a few steps, he felt that his actions seemed a little strange. He stood in a daze, not knowing what to do. What are you still in a daze for? Go. Yiqing Luo really wanted to knock open Qiao Jin's head to see what was in it. Usually he looked rather astute. Why was he so slow in terms of feelings? Qiao Jin responded to her and chased after Yan Xiaoyi's direction in a daze. Yan Xiaoyi pursed her lips tightly as her face was filled with sullen anger. She strode over to the class committee room and lifted her leg to push open the class committee room's door. She had just entered the class committee room when Qiao Jin followed closely behind. Yan Xiaoyi shot a cold glance at him as she said indifferently, "Qiao Jin, why are you following me? I said I don't need you to accompany me." Qiao Jin's brows creased as he carefully stared at Yan Xiaoyi's expression, taking small steps to her side. After he sat down, he realized that he was actually looking at Yan Xiaoyi's expression. Instantly, a man's mentality surged up in his heart as he stared at Yan Xiaoyi, pretending to be relaxed. "I'm not here to accompany you." Yan Xiaoyi sneered as her lips curled upwards in self-ridicule. How long was she going to continue to be sentimental? She lowered her eyes and did not speak again. He just sat quietly on his desk, took out a book, and began to read. Qiao Jin, who had been neglected, did not feel good. Women are strange creatures. He had no idea what a woman was thinking. He was inexplicably angry. He was inexplicably ignoring her. Moreover, she didn't seem to notice that he had secretly hugged her. The silent atmosphere became increasingly strange. This lasted for the time it took for half an incense stick to burn. Qiao Jin finally couldn't restrain himself as he clenched his fists tightly and inched towards Yan Xiaoyi's direction. Yan, the person you want to accompany is not me, I know." Yan Xiaoyi lifted her eyes and looked at him coldly. "So, go and accompany the person you want to accompany. Don't disturb me. You are the one I want to accompany." The words that he wanted to say were stuck in his throat. Qiao Jin scratched his head, feeling a little frustrated with his current feelings. What was going on? Why was it that, when he was facing Yan Xiaoyi, he had a strange feeling? His mind and body were completely out of his control. Yan Xiaoyi saw that he didn't speak and only took it as a tacit agreement. A hint of pain flashed across her eyes as she immediately put down the book in her hands. "If you're not leaving, I'll leave." With that said, she stood up and wanted to leave. Her wrist was suddenly grabbed by a large palm. Chapter 997. His strong and powerful hands suddenly exerted force. Yan Xiaoyi was pressed against the wall with a bam. Qiao Jin's scorching hot body came crashing down. He grabbed her wrist and forcefully pressed it against the wall, his gaze burning as he stared at her unblinkingly. Say it." His breath sprayed on her face. On Yan Xiaoyi's expressionless face, there was a slight change in expression. She wanted to struggle, but she couldn't resist Qiao Jin's strength. He was still being overbearing. It was as if he wouldn't give up until he got the answer. Yan Xiaoyi's eyelashes trembled slightly as she slowly shifted her gaze away, her voice still cold. "The person you want to accompany is Miss Tao Tao, isn't it?" She's in low profound class 1, if you want to see her, you can go over any time. Tao Zi. Xiao Jin frowned. When did he want to accompany Tao Zi? When did he say he wanted to see Tao Zi? When did he say he wanted to look for Tao Zi? What the hell was this woman babbling about? Yan Xiaoyi also frowned. Xiao Jin's hot body pressed against her delicate body tightly. The softness of her chest was also touched by his thick chest. However, Xiao Jin didn't notice it at all. He just followed his instinctive reaction, not wanting Yan Xiaoyi to leave just like that. Get out of my way. Yan Xiaoyi couldn't bear it anymore as she gritted her teeth and raised her eyes, glaring at him fiercely. Xiao Jin's grip on her wrist tightened. That ordinary face that couldn't be considered handsome, was now filled with a strong masculine charm. Especially that pair of inky black eyes, as if it could absorb everything. Looking at it from this angle, Yan Xiaoyi only felt that she was about to sink into his pupils. Her heart suddenly beat faster. She panicked, not wanting Xiao Jin to see this little bit of emotion of hers. Pursing her red lips, she instinctively blurted out, Xiao Jin, get out of my way. Since you like Tao Tao so much, why don't you go look for her? Why do you have to harass me? I don't want to see you. I hate MMPH. The slightly cold lips directly covered Yan Xiaoyi's lips. His kiss was very forceful, very jerky. Without any technique, he just blocked her lips randomly, not wanting her to say those hurtful words out of her mouth. Yan Xiaoyi was stunned. What was he doing? He actually kissed her. There was a faint pain coming from his lips. Xiao Jin was actually biting her lips without any restraint. Yan Xiaoyi was both annoyed and amused. In his heart, he was incomparably satisfied. His lack of finesse is proof that he is clean. This was his first kiss. It was also her first kiss. Yan Xiaoyi didn't struggle, but raised her head cooperatively. She wanted to wrap her arms around his body. However, Xiao Jin suddenly pushed her away and took a few steps back in panic. Yan Xiaoyi bumped into the wall. Her beautiful eyes were filled with charm as she looked at him in confusion. Xiao Jin's face was filled with shock as he bowed deeply towards her. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't do it on purpose. Just pretend that today's events didn't happen. I didn't mean to do this. He did not look at Yan Xiaoyi's expression. Turning around, he left the class committee room as if he was escaping. Leaving Yan Xiaoyi, whose face was gradually turning pale, alone in the class committee room, staring blankly at his back view as he left. What did he mean by this? Pretend that nothing happened? That kiss was just a spur of the moment, it didn't mean anything, right? He was very disgusted. Kissing her. The petite figure leaning against the wall slowly slid down. Until finally, she sat on the ground. She wrapped her arms around her knees and curled herself up. Chapter 998. In the following days, Devil classes students obviously sensed the strangeness between Xiao Jin and Yan Xiaoyi. In the past, whenever Yan Xiaoyi appeared, Xiao Jin would definitely be by her side. Beside Xiao Jin, Yan Xiaoyi would definitely be there. However, these few days, wherever Yan Xiaoyi appeared, Xiao Jin would definitely find an excuse to slip away. As time went by, Yan Xiaoyi simply stayed in Bai Ming Lu's room, receiving Bai Ming Lu's recuperation, not taking a single step out. Yi Qing Luo sensed their abnormality. She asked Xiao Jin but didn't get any response. She only knew that something must have happened between the both of them. Since they didn't say anything, then only they themselves could resolve it. Many a time when it came to matters of the heart, other than herself, no one else could help her. Right now, the most important thing was the ability assessment was about to begin. The rules of the ability assessment were not much different from the Academy's entrance examinations. All of them entered the Heavenly Pagoda to undergo various abilities assessments. As it was a holiday, students from other academies and some famous people in the pugilistic world came to Heavenly Academy to spectate. Whereas Supreme Master Mo, who was also DMO Xian, was invited to the main seat by the director. The director was seated on his right-hand side. Not long later, the entire Academy's students gathered at the Heavenly Public Square. Each class's first and second class stood separately. Shengguan Luli, who was standing at the intermediate profound class 2's position, raised her head, trying to search for Yiqing Luo's figure. But after sweeping through the entire place, she didn't see Yiqing Luo at all. Her gold-powdered eyes revealed a complacent smile. Yiqing Luo must be afraid, not daring to come. How would Devil class dare to come? The assessment requires 10 students and above to be able to take part in the interclass competition. In their Devil class, only Yiqing Luo can do it, the others. Hee. To Devil class, it's simply too difficult to gather 10 students who can pass the assessment. Now they're so frightened that they don't dare to come out. The surrounding students all opened their mouths, expressing their disdain and ridicule. Just at this moment, they heard a sound of cold air being sucked in. They saw Yiqing Luo leading 9 people as she walked over slowly. The 9 of them were covered by a layer of black cloaks, concealing their entire bodies under the black cloaks. They looked timid, as if they had never seen such a big scene before. Seeing this kind of dressing, Shengguan Liuli directly mocked, Devil class's students are really smart. Knowing that they will be so embarrassed that they won't be able to see anyone, they specially covered their faces. Following that, she raised her voice, Yo, Devil class still knows how to be shameless. Many students could not help but burst out laughing. Looking at this posture, it did seem like he was afraid of losing face. Director frowned and looked towards Yiqing Luo's side. Student Yi, your Devil class only has these students. I reckon that only these 9 students would dare to come out and make a fool of themselves. Shengguan Liuli continued, her tone filled with unconcealable mockery. Yiqing Luo calmly raised her eyes. Her gaze was elegant and tranquil as she spat out every single word clearly. There are exactly 10 of us, that's enough. The students sucked in a breath of cold air. Devil class. That useless class actually dared to spout such nonsense. 10 people would be enough. They wanted to see how Yiqing Luo was going to use 10 people to pass the ability assessment. In front of the spectators, director repeated the rules of the ability assessment once again. Yiqing Luo finally understood it. The reason why director chose this day to conduct the ability assessment was to attract other students and cultivators to enter Heavenly Academy. Moreover, Supreme Mo's identity was the evaluator from the main courtyard. Chapter 999. The competition officially kicked off. The Heavenly Pagoda was the treasure of the Heavenly Academy. With 4 masters in charge, the Heavenly Pagoda shone with golden light. This golden light was even more dazzling than the sun in the sky. In an instant, all the students standing on the plaza disappeared without a trace. The Heavenly Pagoda could split into many different spaces, and it could also cut the same space into countless pieces. Each piece was forged by the thoughts of the 4 masters who used the pagoda. The 4 masters looked at the Heavenly Pagoda that suddenly grew bigger and landed in the middle of the square, and their faces revealed a satisfied smile. The content of this test, after a few days of discussion among the upper-level masters, the checkpoints designed could be said to be very dangerous. The first checkpoint, illusion, would probably eliminate many people. Everyone has evil thoughts, and with a slight touch, evil thoughts will devour reason. As the saying goes, if the heavens want to kill someone, they must first make him mad. Inside the Heavenly Pagoda. The first test space was filled with yellow sand. The eyes that were hidden by the golden light gradually saw clearly. This was a golden desert. At this time, there were about 70 people in the desert. Looking at the badges on the uniforms, most of them were low profound class 1, and there were more than 10 intermediate profound class 1 and 2 students. This test is not an individual test. If we are all together, we won't have to worry about other situations. A low profound class student said with a sigh of relief. The other students nodded in agreement. But in fact, everyone's heart was hanging. If the students of each class were to gather together, it was very likely that they would be killed by other classes. On the surface, the group of people seemed harmonious, but in fact there was a turbulent undercurrent. They walked for about half an hour. What is this place? Why can't I see the end? Some students were tired from walking, looked at the endless front, and sat down on the ground. What is this? The ground was full of golden sand, and each grain of sand was shining brightly under the sun. Both hands were buried deep in the sand, and the feeling of metal rubbing against the palm. It's gold. Pure gold. Someone suddenly shouted, jumped up, knelt on the golden sand, and held up a handful of golden sand with both hands. The golden sand slowly slid down through the gaps between his fingers. The student was filled with joy and shouted, "That's right. This touch, it's pure golden sand." As soon as this student finished speaking, some students who were obsessed with money immediately knelt on the golden sand and picked up the handful of golden sand. After confirming that it was indeed pure gold sand, he excitedly grabbed a handful of sand. If you have a bag, put it in your bag. If you don't have a bag, take off your clothes and put them in your clothes. Wait. Lu Xiaoyu frowned when she saw that her students were about to step forward. This is the heavenly pagoda. How could there be pure gold sand here? Something feels off. The other students did not dare to step forward. Even though he was envious of the golden sand, he still felt that something was amiss. The students who couldn't fit in their backpacks and started to take off their clothes to pack the golden sand didn't listen to the persuasion of the students beside them. Suddenly, a student let out a blood-curdling scream. Everyone turned their heads to look. They saw that the hands of the students who were packing the golden sand had been worn down by the flowing golden sand, leaving only white bones. The legs that were kneeling on the golden sand were also white bones or bloody. It was terrifying. Everyone was shocked. In the next second, the group of students who were attracted by the golden sand flashed and disappeared in front of everyone. Chapter 1000. At the same time, there was another group of people not far away. It was different from the other groups. There were only 10 people in this group. It was Yi Qing Luo and the rest. The youngster with the gold coin dart in his hand looked at the golden sand on the ground and immediately lifted the black gauze that blocked his vision, revealing a pair of shining eyes. The golden sand on the ground is full of gold. If I can use it to cast my gold coin dart can be upgraded. Just as he was about to bend down to pick up the golden sand, a cold voice came from above him. Jin Zi, do you want to die? Then, a red feather fan slapped him on the head with a cool breeze. Only to hear a "paw" sound, Qiao Jin's muddled brain instantly sobered up. Following that, cold sweat dripped down from his forehead as he scolded himself for being careless and almost fell into the trap. Tell me, are you stupid? Everything in the Heaven Pagoda is fake, you took it for real. This kind of situation kept happening in this desert. At least hundreds of students were lured by the golden sand, buried under the sand and lost the qualification to take the test. Outside the pagoda, Master of Justice was tasting the best quality tea as he looked at the Heaven Pagoda full of golden light, his eyes full of ridicule. Elder Yun Duan stroked his white beard. Isn't the content of this assessment a little too much? adding an array in the illusion. This is to attract the inner demons. Yun Xiang disagreed. No worries, otherwise we will die on the battlefield. Master of Justice's white brows raised slightly as he stared at another batch of students who were sent out, his eyes deeper. How many people do you think will pass the first round? Yun Duan said word by word, less than half. The dean sat on the high seat in the middle, his face cold as he stared at the pagoda without a word. His eyes were filled with a black storm, as if he was thinking about something. In the desert, Yiqing Luo and the other 10 people had been moving in one direction. Suddenly they heard someone calling out behind them, only to see 20 over students waving in their direction excitedly. Obviously they had met their companions and wanted to join them. When they rushed forward, Yiqing Luo could see from their badges. This was a small team from Intermediate Profound Class 2 and there were 7 students from Low Profound Class. When these people saw Yiqing Luo, the joy on their faces instantly dissipated. Students of the Devil Class. A student from the Useless Class. Immediately, everyone's expression changed. Without saying a word, he walked past them and continued to walk forward. Partnering with a class of trash. He did not know what would happen in the Golden Sand Desert in the next moment. Partnering with a class of trash. He would definitely be burdened to death. These 20 over students' actions didn't make Yiqing Luo and the others furious. They didn't pay any attention to the 20 or so people and continued forward. The 20 or so people who were exhausted from all the walking suddenly felt their anger surging out. People from the Devil Class also dared to participate in the interclass competition. Only 10 students are participating in the test. What a joke. Yeah, they're obviously a bunch of trash. Trash should act like trash. Look at them, don't they look like followers? Ha ha ha. Pfft, followers. You think too highly of them. They're following behind us because they want to take advantage of the situation. They want us to explore the path ahead while they reap the benefits. Who knows, maybe 1 or 2 of them will survive until the end under everyone's protection. Isn't that like a dog wagging its tail and begging for mercy? Chapter 1001. Shut up. A cold and sullen voice was heard as a slender lady with a black veil walked forward from behind Yiqing Luo. Through the black veil, that pair of icy cold eyes seemed to have no emotions at all as she stared at them icily. The invisible viciousness and aura caused the 20-odd people to freeze. A waist class actually had someone with such a strong aura. They were actually scared stiff by a waist from the waist class till they didn't dare to speak. Why? You waste don't allow others to speak. Waste is waste. You devil class are all a bunch of waste. You don't have the ability and still want to put on a brave front, taking part in the interclass competition. Still thinking of getting first place. What qualifications do you have to compete with high profound class students? Get first place. One of the students raised his voice in disbelief as he started laughing wildly. Don't make me laugh to death, alright, get first place. Don't you know that the class which gets first place in the interclass competition will represent Heavenly Academy to compete with other academies' classes? Just based on you. Don't throw our Heavenly Academy's face, alright. Pack, pack, pack. A few crisp slapping sounds were heard. Those students who were ridiculing felt a shadow flashing past their eyes as their faces flushed red. Faintly, they felt a strong burst of profound chi coming towards them. Their hearts were overwhelmed with shock as they held on to their red faces, staring at Yiqing Luo in shock. But they saw Yiqing Luo turning her head to look at the lady behind her. Ziqing, don't be anxious, it's not the time yet. A slender jade hand patted on Tong Ziqing's shoulder, suppressing the profound chi which was released from her body. A cool feeling followed that voice, cleansing Tong Ziqing's vicious aura. There's something fishy about this golden desert. It's constantly enlarging the evil thoughts in our hearts, so it's better to leave as soon as possible. Saying that, her vision congealed towards Long Yunjian. Ah Jean, look at Zi Qing. Everyone pay attention to adjusting your temperament. Long Yunjian indifferently walked up as he raised his hand and pressed on Tong Zi Qing's shoulder. Tong Zi Qing's petite body trembled as she stared blankly at Long Yunjian. The flame around her instantly dissipated as she obediently followed Long Yunjian as he retreated. Those 20 over students didn't know what they were muttering softly about. He could only stare at Yiqing Luo with an ugly expression. They all felt that the person who slapped them earlier was Yiqing Luo. After all, in devil class, only Yiqing Luo alone had the ability to hurt them. Yiqing Luo bypassed Long Yunjian and walked directly in front of everyone. Her slender fingers gently pointed at the crowd in front of her. That group of people's hearts trembled slightly. Some of the low-class students even took a few steps back, afraid that Yiqing Luo would make a move again. Yiqing Luo smiled as her charming eyes fixed on them. That side is the east, you guys head east. Then, he pointed in another direction and said, let's head west. Saying that, Yiqing Luo led the other 9 people and directly turned around, walking towards the direction which she had pointed out. The faces of the 20-odd students were ashen. They could only glare at their departing silhouettes. Yiqing Luo and the rest walked out 100 meters away and gradually, they could no longer see those 20 over figures. Ni Ruopan then scooted over to Yiqing Luo's side in puzzlement as she raised her head and looked at the sun hanging in the sky. Qing Luo and the others, how did you know that is the east side? Other than the unmoving sun above our heads, there's nothing else to indicate the direction. I'm just making things up. Yiqing Luo opened up her arms as she shrugged her shoulders. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.